course, there have been many assassinations, but some of them have stood out. The most memorable, of course, started in 1961 with the assassination of Patrice Emery Lumumba in Katanga, the death of Thomas Isidore Sankara in 1987 was also a death that debilitated the struggle which had just started in earnest in a country then known as Upper Volta, but whose name was changed to Burkina Faso. That death in Ouagadougou, we now know, could have been at the behest of France, and we know that there has been a successful prosecution of Blaise Compaoré, who we know was a comprador of the French. Much more recently, in the year 2011, the painful death of Muammar al-Gaddafi in the year 2011. Africa has seen assassinations. Why assassinate them? They are assassinated because at critical times in the life of their countries, they stood out and they were telling the colonizers from the Western world that we were going to ensure that our countries were liberated. And I remember this speech of Samora Moises Machel. He said, never must Africa say that there is one colonizer who is better than the other. All of them are the same. Some kill you smiling, some kill you sneering, but at the end of the day, you are dead. And when Samora was flying, when they had introduced insurgency in Angola, or rather in Mozambique, to ensure that the independence did not go as it was planned, he was brought down and his aircraft led to his death when it was brought down. Samora Moises Machel, once again assassinated because he was in the forefront of the struggle for total liberation of his country. And they did not stop there. In Guinea-Bissau, there was a great man, Amilcar Cabral, his nom de guerre, Abel Jassy. While he was in Guinea-Conakry, they murdered Amilcar Cabral. Of course, ultimately, Guinea-Bissau and Cabo Verde regained their independence, but Amilcar had gone. Muammar al-Gaddafi. The year is 2011. During that period, we have seen Gaddafi saying the Organization of African Unity is not doing what it ought to do. Let us change it to something else. He convened several meetings in Sirte in Libya, and he funds the African Union, is saying that we must own our hospitality industry. He builds hotels in different parts of Africa. He says that we must control our oil. He builds different petrol outlets in the continent of Africa. He says that Africa must have its currency. He says that Africa must be free, and they say that Gaddafi must die. Recently, the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, narrated to the world why and when African leaders were prepared to fly to Libya to mediate, they were stopped by NATO and they were not allowed to go to Tripoli in Libya because NATO had taken the decision that Gaddafi must die. And Gaddafi died, and when Gaddafi died, we now know the state of Libya. We have different governments in Libya.
Welcome.
What if my team...
Let's get back to the renaissance of Africa and development. What are the two things you would do for Africa to be able, let me even reduce it to Uganda specifically.
Yes. Number one,
Uganda, what would you do to spur it to levels of growth and development that are
number
desired?
one, I would make my own money and I would not balance it or I would not back it by the American dollar or any other currency. In fact,
Then it wouldn't be money.
What is money?
Weighed against what? Because money,
American money is made against what?
Gold.
Which gold? My God, you said you have internet. Check, they don't have any. It is just paper. It's made up by tanks and F-15 fighters. They have no gold. It is the Federal Reserve has no reserve and is not federal. It's a private institution. Hey, you disappoint me today.
No, you
Yes,
actually
you
disappoint me. I know.
The Federal Reserve.
This is where we differ as students of economics.
Oh, wait.
And I.
Okay, now let's talk economics.
The student of history and the student of economics will differ completely.
I am not only a student of economics, I am a teacher of economics. And I'm going to teach economics on your show. And I'm, I'm a teacher. I can't afford to be ridiculous. I am coming on your show to tell you that the Federal Reserve, first of all, is not federal. It's not a government agency. It is a private institution owned by 12 individuals. And it has no reserve. The dollar has no reserve. It is just paper with graphics on it. And how dare our country, backs its money
against the dollar,
against a piece of paper which somebody prints. When the Secretary to the Treasury in America wants money, wants to buy, for example, Uganda Airlines, let's assume, he's not going to say what. He orders the mint. He asks them, how long will it take you to print this? Yes, I know truth makes you laugh. Why do you think they're having trouble with Russia? Because Russia is buying gold and it is moving away from the dollar. And China is the same. China is moving gold. Look at the countries that have now the largest collection of gold. You'll find Russia among them. Russia and China. They want a currency that is backed by gold. And Uganda has gold. What they would do is they would make our currency gold, which means 1 gram of 1 shilling, if it was gold, would be now equivalent to about 120 of today's money, Uganda shillings, which would be about $50. Our shilling would be about $50.
If it were gold.
If it were gold. And we have gold. So instead of letting this gold hemorrhage out of the country, we would get this money and turn it into gold.
The gold standard.
That's the gold standard. You've got it. Do you know how it started? People would come, they deposit gold here. Because gold is heavy, it's very heavy, you would give them a piece of paper. Now, when they get to Masaka, instead of coming back when they want to purchase something, they would pass the paper to someone else. That is why when you look at the pound, they say promise to pay on demand, a demand note. So now, most of the money is fake money because it is not backed by gold.
Because you said in the past. That passed on.
No, it is today. This is not the past. This is today. The world reserve currency, even this Dominic Strauss-Kahn that you hear now in France that they are saying that he was whatever, he also wanted to move the world away from the dollar. And the moment he mentioned that he wanted the International Monetary Fund to set up its own currency other than the dollar. And that is the real battle between America and Russia. Because Russia has seen that the rest of the world produces real goods and America only prints dollars. And if you want to destroy that country, the best thing you could do is move away from the gold, from the dollar.
Let's get to the second one. You say that you would put the currency against the gold standard.
Yes,
that is the first one.
That's the first one.
The second?
The second one, I would not allow any foreign banks to operate in this country. No foreign banks. Now, let me tell you.
That only happens in North Korea.
I've told you Ethiopia. Ethiopia doesn't have foreign banks. It doesn't happen in North Korea. No. Let me first explain to you why. Federal fractional reserve lending. Fractional reserve lending is you have, if you have 4 banks, for example, Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, Bank D. If I take $10 million, by law, the bank is allowed to keep 10% of what I've deposited and lend out, the rest of the percentage, 90%. So if the bank started with nothing and I came and deposited 10 million, it would reserve 1 million, it would lend out 9 million, but at interest. Yeah. Now it will take actual collateral. It started with nothing. It has 1 million reserve. It has a portfolio of about 12 million, and it has somebody's house, which it has taken at a fraction of what they call, first sale value. But the person who gets this money now goes and deposits it in another bank, like 9 million. The bank now takes 10%, which is 900,000, and lends out 8.1. And that person goes and deposits it in another bank. So one deposit creates money about 90 times. Fractional reserve lending allows the bank to create money out of thin air. And whereas it creates money out of thin air, it actually lends you money, lends you that thin air and takes actual collateral. Once you understand that, then you understand economics. You need not know anything else. If you don't understand this, anything else about economics will confuse you. And bring to Mzime Mtebire on this show and ask him about fractional reserve banking and phantom deposit. When you go to the bank and deposit money, or you ask for a loan, the bank doesn't go out to sell matoke and get the money and give it to you. No. After making you run around, they say, Mr. Chivazo, we now have the money. You can go and
it's
check.
on your account.
So what they have done is a computer transfer, what we call a phantom deposit. But you know what Chivazo gave them? He gave them the title for his house in Lunguja.
Viewers, I take a break and I return with Professor Chirankuba. Let's get back to the renaissance of Africa and development.
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tampa market.
Started to rise. In Northeast Africa, precisely on the horn of Africa.
But the local farmers.
All right. Yes, Miss Haiti, I have to make a follow-up on that. That might be my next presentation, to look at it. Thank you for that post. Matter of fact, let me take a screenshot. Yeah. And then I can do some research. Okay, let me see. All right. All right, good afternoon, folks. This is Frank. Once again, I am your host. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series as part of WCC. All right, so there's a reason why I played those two videos. So as usual, I'm going to start those two videos with my thesis. All right. So today it's just going to be about Burkina Faso. All right. No. All right. Yeah, it's going to be about Burkina Faso mainly because Burkina Faso is the focus point, but it's actually about the continent and African nation in general. All right. And African people in general. All right. So today's topic, it says measures to Ibrahim Traore, the AES nations, after 5 Billion CFA assassination plot to assassinate Ibrahim Traore. So if I can recall, there should be about the 17 to 20 assassination attempt against Ibrahim Traore in 2 years. All right. And we are going to discuss some of the reasons behind the assassination attempt. It is not an old thing. Let's say new thing. It is an old thing, right? So from the first video that we watched with Professor P.L. Lumumba, he did explain about the assassination of African leaders by the West, by the US, and by Europe, okay? By the colonizer, all right? He talked about Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, even the list go on, right? The assassination attempt of Nkrumah and those things. And then the recent one of our time, Muammar Gaddafi, right, by the US, all right? And all of these things, all right, are deliberately done, are calculated, they are all calculated, all right? It is those assassination, right, by the US, directly or indirectly, by Europe, directly or indirectly, by the West, directly or indirectly. It was not by coincidence, like, it is an accident, or those leaders, they were bad leader. No. In fact, the US does not support good leadership on the African continent. All right. And these things that we say here, they see it, the US see it, but they will never come out to question because they know we speak the truth. All right. The United States does not support good governance on the African continent because if they support good governance on the African continent, they will not exploit the African continent. They will not take advantage of the African people and the African continent. And that's the same thing they do in the US here. They do not want any good leadership to come out of the Black community. They don't. They will not support you. It is the same way on the African continent, and it is the same way in other African nations. They do not support good governance. They do not support peace. They do not support security. All right. They support insecurity and they support corruption because that's how they survive. That's how they take advantage of you. All right. They knew few people that they can use within a system that they can use, right, to manipulate, okay, to get the resources, to get your gold, your diamond, your uranium. I mean, everything. All right. That's what they do. They do not, because if they do, why did they assassinate Sankara, Patrick Lumumba, all right, Gaddafi? Why did they put sanctions on Zimbabwe? All right, why did they work with those leaders? Okay, so these are factual information. They do not want good governance on the African continent. All right, you will be delusional and hallucinating when you have your elections to invade America or to invade Europe, to come and serve as an observer or delegate or foreign delegate, or as you call it, so-called international community, to come, all right, and be an observer on your election, and you think by them be there or their presence, and you think your election is going to be fair. The reality here is the fact that you invite them. When they come, they are coming with their agenda. They are coming to support their agenda. They are coming to support their foreign policy. So when they come, you have given them the chance, right, to be in your space, to be in your corridor, okay, to be in your territory. You gave them the chance, the space to be in your face, to do what they're supposed to do, to get who they're supposed to get in power. So henceforth, these are some of the things that we're going to discuss here today. Why 17 assassination attempt on Ibrahim Traore, right? Why are they not going against corrupt leader? Why are they not going to Tinubu, the corrupt guy? Oh, because Tinubu is a felony in the United States here. Tinubu is a United States felony, okay? He has a felony record, alleged, in Chicago, all right? So that is why these government officials, these African leaders or presidents, if they are in your country and they are not doing well and they support Western agenda, foreign policy, check their history, do some research on them. All right. Now, it has been alleged that Tinubu is an American fugitive. All right. He was a drug lord. All right. In Chicago. Now, they're using to get him there, in power there in Nigeria. So he's working for them. So that's how they drop these cases. All right, to suck up Africa, to suck up Nigeria. Okay, now with Nana Akufo-Addo, I can say, you know, he have he's an American fugitive or alleged, but again, when it comes to the World Bank feed these people. The World Bank feed Nana Akufo-Addo. All right, so Nana Akufo-Addo get his breast milk from the World Bank. He get his brown milk from the IMF. So those guys, they are puppets. If they are not fugitive, they are puppets in a bucket of the World Bank where they get their milk to suck their breast milk. And this is why today we are going to advance the AES nation, because as far as we are concerned right now, the entire African continent, we do not support, respect, and let me be specific, the West African nations, and some of the East African nations like Kenya, we do not respect these African leaders as our leaders. As far as we are concerned right now, it is the AES nations that we look up to, that we respect, because we feel they are doing the right thing and they are fighting for the right thing. If not, why there have been no assassination attempt? No, it's not that we support it to go carry assassination attempt whatsoever on Ghana or Nana Akufo-Addo or Tinubu. But the reality here is, right, we are asking the obvious question. Why there have been no assassination attempt on Tinubu, on Nana Akufo-Addo, on Al-Assad, right, or Ouattara of Africa? Why no assassination attempt? But why there is always an assassination attempt or an assassination on African leaders, okay, who just want Africa to do her own thing, who just want Africa to manage her affairs, her resources, her political, social, and economic affairs? Why there is always an assassination attempt or an assassination supported by the West? Why the West can never support a good governance on the African continent? Why the West can never support any African leaders who want the best for Africa? Why the West can engage those people? But they will come out to talk about their democracy, their democracy, their democracy. But in reality, they practice autocracy, they practice dictatorship, they practice feudalism. They don't practice democracy because they don't even believe what democracy is. Because if that's the case, they will never function or corrupt the African continent to steal and loot the African property. Now, if you can take 5 billion, and by the way, that 5 billion CFA is like about $8 million United States dollars. And that 5 billion, right, it is just some of the money. Because every year, the so-called Francophone nation, all right, France have been taking yearly 500 billion CFA in taxes, just taxes. I'm not talking about the resources, just taxes, because those Francophone nations, they are banks in France, okay? They are banks in France. Like the second video you watch, right? Now, let me explain this. This is the reason why there have been about 17 assassination attempts on Burkina Faso, on Ibrahim Traore. This is the reason why they want to fight hard to dissolve the AES nations. Because why? The United States dollar is backed by resources. Which resources? The African resources. France, the CFA, is backed by African resources. They do not have gold. They do not have diamond. They do not have uranium. So for each time you sell your gold, your diamond, your uranium in dollar, it raises the value of the US dollar. It raises the value of the pound. And then no wonder why every day we cry, we wonder, okay, that why African currency are less value, are not value, why $1 of US is 10 million African currency, is 10,000 African currency. Those are the reasons, because the African currency have no value. What do we exchange of our African currency? Absolutely nothing. It is only in that nation, that currency, it is being used by the so-called citizens. Because your resources, you cannot sell your resources through your currency. That gave your currencies less value. And then it raises the foreign currency that is used to trade or to sell your resources. That is why right now, if you can see, there's a fight between the BRICS and the Western world. Between the BRICS and Europe, between the BRICS and the US, between the BRICS and North America, to be specific. Because there is nothing to back the US dollar, there is nothing to back the pound, nothing, absolutely. Because the gold that is stole, all right, from Africa, from African, that they deposited in the Buckingham Palace, it can't spend 10 years. It will not spend 8 years to back their gold or their currency, their pound. It will not. It's less. It will only go 5 years. So that is why they are struggling. That is why they are fighting, right? Because as we speak, apart from South Africa, the only nation that is willing now to go join the BRICS are the AES nations. West Africa are the AES nation, right? Now, it is recently we saw, because we are on our cases, right? Or we're on a case. It is recently we saw William Ruto, the American puppet, the Western puppet, the bourgeoisie, now went to the BRICS. Now, I don't even believe that. Maybe he might be sent because he's a bourgeoisie, he's a neo-colonialist. Who knows? He went there to go get information to give it to his slave master. Because it is impossible. It is impossible to fight for your freedom, to fight for your dignity, then at the same time, you dine and wine with the colonial master. It is impossible. And that is why we don't believe these people. We couldn't believe the AES nation because we see their actions, we see their movement, and we see the work that they are doing. And that is why we speak hardly of them. That is why we support them in everything they do. And that is why we will continue to expose the Western propaganda agenda. We will never be part of the corrupt African leaders, all right? We will never be part of the corrupt African leader to protect them, all right? If there's any Western propaganda against them, and then go and support them and say, oh, no. We will see your action. We will see your doing. We will see your progress towards your people. And then, before we will debunk Western propaganda. If not, you on your own. And that is why the AES nations, we will continue to debunk any Western propaganda, and we will continue to praise them. We will continue to talk about them. We are in a different time period. We don't have to listen to CNN, BBC, because at the end of the day, those folks will never, ever talk about the right thing when it comes to Africa. They are there to dehumanize Africa, to look Africa and African people look like zombie, or they are not even alive, inferior. That is what they have done, and that is what they will keep doing. But new flash to them. This is a different time period. We will continue to encourage the Burkinabes, the Nigerian, the Malian to take frame. They are on the right path, and we are with them, and we are watching, and we will continue to talk about them on every platform. We will give them that resilient spirit of freedom. And that is why they will not give up. You might have done it to Thomas Sankara because it was a different time period. He never had the courage or the courage for people to talk about him. You may have did it to Patrick Lumumba because it was a different time period. Your propaganda worked against them. You may have done it to Gaddafi, and you went and killed Gaddafi because it was a different time period. The platform was not there for people to talk about it, to expose you people. You may have done it to Kwame Nkrumah, but there's a different time period. We will expose you. You may have done it to Amiga Cabral. There's a different time period. You may have done it to Robert Mugabe, where you strangle him, but this is a different time period, and it will lead to your downfall. Now, recently, there was an assassination attempt. I think most of you have seen it, or some of you have seen it, but we will continue to talk about this. Other platforms have voiced on it. But this is WCC. We like to explain in depth. And to Ibrahim Traore and to the AES nations, you guys are doing a great thing. You guys are doing a great job. to the people of Burkina Faso, to the people, the citizens, the great citizens of Mali, the great citizens of Niger, don't give up. Freedom is not giving, freedom is taking. And we know you are taking your freedom because your freedom was taken from you. Your freedom that was taken from you, it was not through begging. It was not through negotiation. It was through torture. It was through colonization. It was through enslavement of African people. It was through cutting people's hands off. I mean, taking advantage. It was through looting. It was through chaos. It was through rape by Europe and America, by the West. It was taken from you. It was never negotiated. So taking it back, that's the right way. You take freedom, you don't negotiate for freedom. It is only a bourgeoisie who will go to his or her master to negotiate for his or her freedom that was taken, forcefully taken. $5 billion CFA came from an unknown place to bribe the military, to assassinate Ibrahim Traore. 5 billion CFA. Now, to that so-called business entity where that 5 billion CFA came from, to that so-called nation where that CFA came from, 5 billion to kill one person. If you actually want to help the AES nations, the Nigerian, the Chadian, the Malian, the Burkinabe, why can't you take that 8 million or that 5 billion CFA? Go and invest in something different, meaningfully, that will have great impact on the people's life. And then if you do that, then maybe the people will see that, well, we don't want Ibrahim Traore. For instance, but you don't do that. But you call the soldiers, and we will explain why these things are happening. We want to explain why these things are happening. Why will you sit, call soldiers, say, listen, we're going to give you 5 billion CFAs. We're going to give you $8 million United States dollars to just go and kill Ibrahim Traore. You know, those things might have been happening. You might have done it to Gaddafi in our time, but we are learning and we are continuing to expose people. So this time around, the 5 billion CFA did not work. The military of Burkina Faso informed Ibrahim Traore, informed the security sector. They said, okay, tell them to bring it. Agree that you want the money to come and assassinate Ibrahim Traore. Let them bring the money. In fact, the 5 billion, the 500 billion every year France take, right? CFA they take from us in taxes. It is part of our money. Let them, don't say no. Agree. And the security sector of Burkina Faso agreed to collaborate with them to go and assassinate Ibrahim Traore. So the security went and worked. So this idiot flew with the money and they took it to the airport. Now, the part about it is that, you know, they always use African. And then they use another African, black, stupid-headed nigger with the money to go and give it to the soldiers in communication. They arrested these people. And they took the $5 billion CFA. They took it to Ibrahim Traore. Now, where's where that 500 billion CFA came from? Bravo. You just contributed to the government because that money is not going to go back. And the people, the so-called Africans, stupid and dumb-headed, that accepted the money, you're going to jail. And we support it. Because Ibrahim Traore have just introduced or reintroduced the death penalty, and we support it. Because if not, 17 to 20 assassination attempts, all those people need to go on a death penalty. Then the next time, if Europe or the white man come and tell you to go and kill your own brothers and sisters who are doing the right thing, you would think twice. Because those idiots should face the death penalty. There's a freedom. Freedom don't come easy to say, oh, you know what? They are our brothers and sisters. No. If they are, they should do the right thing. In case they was going to assassinate Ibrahim Traore, in case the security sector did not like this man, in case the citizen did not like this man would have been killed. And that is why we support the reintroduction of the death penalty for any stupidity on those idiots, bourgeoisie. Let them die. Let them face it. Now, let's look at the video as we get into it. Let's look at the video as we get into it. Because like 500 billion, right? Let's do this. From the last video we just watched, the issue here is if the AES nation succeed, and which of course they are going to succeed, and we will succeed. What happened here is that it's not just the US, it's not just Europe. You are also talking about individuals, business entrepreneurs, so-called entrepreneur. Imagine, right? Doing slavery, right? You have government official. For example, you had Thomas Jefferson. These people are slaves. The president at that time, the federal government. You have James Maroon, governor of Virginia. These people have slaves, right? They were making money. At the same time, you have people that were not in government, who were private entrepreneurs, who have slaves as their property, right? As their business. Booming economy, right? It's the same way going on right now. So now, with the AES nation, it is not just going to affect the government, the Western world. You are also talking about business entrepreneur, private people, right? Western people who take advantage of African resources. It's going to affect them. Because where would they go to corrupt? Where would they go to get the resources, to loot the resources? Nowhere. They will not go anywhere to loot the resources, to exploit the people. They will not go Burkina Faso to go get the resources. So that means they will go out of business. So now, it might not have been, okay, the colonial nation, but it might have been also individual who saw it necessary that Abraham got to go. The AES nation or leaders, they got to go. So let's see how this happened. And then we're going to dive into it, and give some critical analysis and advice to Ibrahim Traore to be on his guard. And there's a reason why today discussion is chosen. Because we got to be reminded of the past and the present. Because it was some year back they killed Thomas Sankara. Some years back they killed Patrick Lumumba. Some years back they killed Amilcar Cabral. Some years back, and the list goes on, right? Not too long. For the same reason they killed those people, the same reason they killed Gaddafi. And the same reason they killed Gaddafi, it is the same reason they're trying to kill Ibrahim Traore. Nothing changed. We are on our own. We have no friends. Now, before I even get into this, let me say this to the AES nations. All the African leaders that have betrayed you currently, like Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, Tinubu, Ouattara, do not ever trust those people. Do not ever trust those people. Never you ever be in a meeting, even though Nana Akufo-Addo is about to be out. But the reality here is, do not ever be in a meeting with Nana Akufo-Addo. Do not ever be in a meeting with Ouattara. Do not ever be in a meeting even with William Ruto. Don't be in a meeting with those people. Don't be in a meeting with the Benin president. Don't be in a meeting with Tinubu. Don't do it. Those people are neo-colonialists and they are working for their master. They can do anything. The same way They have tried to assassinate you through the military and it's not working. There are so many ways to get you out. And they are working. You heard Nana Akufo-Addo when his slave master went and sat with him. And Nana Akufo-Addo say, we are trying in various ways. Now, I'm not saying he's part of the 5 billion, no. But I'm saying, do not try these people. Do not trust them. If he said we are trying in many ways to bring this nation back, many ways can be any way. Many ways can be any way to get you out. And if they can get you out for the nation to come back, they will do it. Many ways can be any way. Don't trust these people. That's the first warning to Ibrahim Traore, Tiani, and Assimi Goita. That's one warning. Do not be in a meeting with Tinubu. Do not be in a meeting with Ouattara. Do not be in a meeting with William Ruto. Do not be in a meeting with Nana Akufo-Addo. For example, it was the same Addo that came to Anthony Blinken and said they should come and assassinate you, they should come and wage war on you. He came to his slave master and told his slave master that his slave master should send military against you. It did not end. After we brought it out, we exposed him. He made a trip to Burkina Faso to apologize to you, Ibrahim Traore. What then happened? Later, a few months down the line, he came back to the United Nations and then told you back on in the box. He never talked about the issues affecting Africans, but rather he came to his slave master and then told his slave master again against you. That's a warning. If you don't know, be careful with those people. Never you be in a meeting with them. Like I said, he said they are finding many ways. And many ways can be other ways to get you out, to bring Burkina Faso back. So that Burkina Faso can be given back to France. So that Niger can be given back to France. So that Mali can be given back to France. So that those nations can be given back to the colonialists. So that they will continue to exploit the African resources as the African people continue to be in captivity and in poverty. That is the satisfaction of Nana Akufo-Addo. That is the satisfaction of Ouattara. That is the satisfaction of Tinubu. That is the satisfaction of William Ruto. Do not be in the presence of these people. It's a warning. Now, let's continue. That's the first warning. Many warning coming. Now, we do not have copyright to the video because the video, the owner. Okay, so I'm going to do this, right? So with the recent assassination attempt, I went online to try to even get an article, all right? Because with this video, it have a music playing to it. Whosoever downloaded or made a video, added his own music to it so that for, copyright purposes and stuff. So due to that, we don't have copyright because I could not find an article. Of course, you will not find articles. Had it been that, for instance, they succeeded to assassinate Ibrahim Traore, I can tell you, CNN was going to write article, BBC was going to write article. I mean, all of them, all these Western media was going to write article. But because they did not succeed, they did not write article about it. Because that's not something they want to talk about because they did not succeed in killing him. So they did not write article. All right. So due to that, I could not bring article to that because no article about it. So we have no copyright to the video. All right. Let's continue here.
November 8, 2024. The setting: Ouagadougou, the capital city of a nation already facing a multitude of threats, both internal and external. In a carefully orchestrated operation, Burkina Faso's security forces managed to thwart a covert plot that had the potential to destabilize the entire country. The central figure in this story? A mysterious individual who arrived in the capital under the pretense of a legitimate business visit. But hidden beneath this was a far more sinister agenda. The man came not with promises of investment or cooperation, but with a suitcase filled with 5 billion CFA francs, an eye-watering sum that could change the fate of entire communities. But why was this money brought into Burkina Faso? And who was behind this audacious plan? The answer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Ferrari, and I am the CEO of Phoenix Capital Group. We look forward to you joining us at our
Answers lie in a complex web of deceit, manipulation, and betrayal. But were they successful? Let's find out. In today's deep dive, we will peel back the layers of this shocking story to uncover the truth behind the plot. We will explore who was the mysterious figure carrying the massive sum of money, and what drove him to take such a significant risk. How Burkina Faso's loyal soldiers played a high-stakes game to expose the plot and protect their nation. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this story is about more than just a suitcase of cash. It's a testament to the strength, unity, and resilience of the people of Burkina Faso. The story begins with the arrival of a man shrouded in secrecy. He stepped off a plane in Ouagadougou, dressed impeccably in a business suit, projecting the air of a foreign investor ready to inject capital into the country's infrastructure projects. But this was merely a facade.
Just to project again, we have no copyright to the video because we don't want for the video to play the entire time. So we're going to be doing this, project and talk, and then go back. So we have no copyright to the video. Let's continue.
A well-crafted disguise that masked his true intentions. The man carried with him a suitcase containing 5 billion CFA francs. This sum wasn't meant for development projects, nor was it intended to support charitable causes. Instead, this substantial amount of money was allegedly earmarked for something far more nefarious: bribing soldiers to turn against their own government and sowing chaos within Burkina Faso. So, who was this man? And why did he believe that a suitcase filled with cash would be enough to topple a nation?
Man offers Burkina Faso soldiers $8 million to overthrow government. The Burkinabe Defense and Security Forces have foiled an attempt to topple the military junta with an offer of $8.17 million.
According to confidential sources, this individual had ties to powerful foreign entities with vested interests in destabilizing the region. For these shadowy backers, Burkina Faso represents a critical geostrategic point in West Africa, rich in resources like gold and minerals, and positioned in a region rife with conflict and political instability. The plan was deceptively simple on the surface: approach disillusioned soldiers, offer them enough money to secure their loyalty, and ignite a chain reaction that would destabilize the country. The timing of this plot was no accident. Burkina Faso, after years of battling extremist groups and political unrest, had recently made strides toward stability. The country's efforts to strengthen its borders and foster economic growth were beginning to bear fruit. But with progress comes new challenges, and for some, stability in Burkina Faso is seen as a threat to their interests. The suspect was confident that his plan would work. After all, it's a tale as old as time. Use money to buy loyalty, especially in a region where soldiers are often underpaid and overworked. The man believed he had found the perfect opportunity to exploit the country's vulnerabilities. He was convinced that a few million francs could turn soldiers into mercenaries for hire. But this time, he was wrong. From the moment he made contact with his supposed allies within the military, things began to unravel. What the suspect didn't realize was that these soldiers were not as easily swayed as he had hoped. The men he approached were not just ordinary recruits. They were veterans, men who had dedicated their lives to defending Burkina Faso against both internal and external threats. They had fought insurgents, faced down extremist groups, and survived.
Again, we have no copyright to the video. We can't allow the video to play it, for long. So we got to project and talk in. So we have no copyright to the video. Let's continue.
Some of the harshest conditions imaginable. Their loyalty to their nation was unwavering. As soon as the suspect made his first overture, offering large sums of money in exchange for loyalty, the soldiers knew something was off. But rather than rejecting the offer outright and risking exposure, they decided to play along. They knew they were dealing with someone who had significant backing and resources. The question was, who was pulling the strings behind the scenes? Instead of turning the man away, the soldiers played a dangerous game of deception. They reported everything to their superiors, who, in turn, alerted the national security forces. Together, they devised a plan to expose the full extent of the conspiracy. For weeks, these soldiers maintained the pretense of being interested in the suspect's offer. They met with him multiple times, gathering critical information about his backers, his network, and the scope of his plans. Behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. These soldiers were taking a huge risk. If the suspect discovered their true intentions, it could lead to retaliation, not just against them, but against their families. But their loyalty to Burkina Faso was stronger than their fear of retribution. As the weeks went by, the soldiers gathered enough evidence to expose the entire operation. They knew that they had to act fast before the suspect realized he was being played. The stage was set for a dramatic takedown that would reveal the true nature of this plot. From the very beginning, Burkina Faso's security forces were aware that they were not just dealing with a lone individual. They were facing a sophisticated plot orchestrated by unseen hands, likely backed by powerful foreign interests. As soon as the soldiers reported the suspect's approach to their superiors, the intelligence and security apparatus of Burkina Faso sprang into action. What followed was an operation that would rival any Hollywood thriller, a covert sting operation to expose a conspiracy that threatened to plunge the entire nation into chaos. The moment of truth came on November 8, 2024. The suspect had arranged a final meeting, believing that he had secured the loyalty.
Again, we have no copyright to the video. We cannot allow the video to play without projecting. We have no copyright to the video. Let's continue.
Of the soldiers he had approached. The location was a nondescript warehouse on the outskirts of Ouagadougou, a place he assumed would provide the privacy needed for such a high-stakes transaction. The plan was simple. He would hand over the 5 billion CFA francs, and in return, the soldiers would pledge their allegiance to him and his mysterious backers. This money was intended to fund a coup that would destabilize Burkina Faso and create a power vacuum that could be exploited by foreign interests. But what the suspect didn't know was that the soldiers he thought were on his side had already informed their superiors. The warehouse had been rigged with hidden cameras and recording devices. Elite security forces, armed and ready, were stationed nearby, waiting for the signal to move in. In a matter of minutes, the suspect was apprehended, and his suitcase of cash was confiscated. The entire operation had been recorded, providing irrefutable evidence of his intentions. The 5 billion CFA francs, which had been intended to fuel a conspiracy against the government, were now safely secured in the vaults of Burkina Faso's treasury. The arrest of the suspect was just the beginning. As soon as he was taken into custody, Burkina Faso's intelligence agencies began the process of interrogating him, hoping to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy. As the news of the sting operation spread, it sent a powerful message to anyone thinking of exploiting Burkina Faso's internal challenges. The country's leadership made it clear: Burkina Faso will not be brought to its knees by foreign plots or the lure of dirty money. In a televised address, the country's president praised the bravery and loyalty of the soldiers who risked their lives to protect their nation. This was not just an operation to stop one man, the president declared. This was a statement that Burkina Faso stands united against corruption, foreign interference, and any attempt to destabilize our beloved country. The successful sting operation has bolstered the morale of both the military and the general population. It showed that even in a country facing immense challenges, some will not be swayed by the promise of wealth. It's a testament to the strength of character of the people of Burkina Faso, a nation that refuses to be divided, no matter the odds. What comes next? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now.
Once again, we have no copyright to the video. The video is long, so that's why I'm not really talking in it to give my output or my opinion or to add detail to the discussion. But I will do that at the end of the video. But I want you guys to see the entire video. That's why I'm not really talking. But again, we have no copyright to the to the video. Let's continue.
But the story doesn't end here. While the immediate threat was neutralized, questions remain. Who else was involved? Was this an isolated incident or part of a larger plot to destabilize not just Burkina Faso, but the entire West African region? As the dust settled on the dramatic sting operation, the true depth of the conspiracy began to emerge. Burkina Faso's security forces had successfully thwarted a plot that could have destabilized the entire country. But now came the difficult task of unraveling the tangled web of foreign interests and shadowy backers who had orchestrated this plan. From the very beginning, the suspect's actions raised red flags among the nation's top intelligence officials. A man walking into the capital city with a suitcase full of 5 billion CFA francs was not operating alone. The sheer audacity of the plan suggested that he was just the front man, a pawn in a much larger game being played by forces with far deeper pockets and more ambitious agendas. To find who it was, we need to ask, who stands to gain? Burkina Faso, a country rich in natural resources such as gold, manganese, and phosphates, has long been a target for foreign powers seeking to control its wealth. The nation's strategic position in West Africa, coupled with its recent economic growth and relative political stability, has made it a prime target for those who wish to exploit its resources and influence its policies. According to intelligence reports, the suspect had connections to foreign operatives based in neighboring countries. These operatives were reportedly working on behalf of powerful entities with interests in controlling the region's resources. This was not just about bribing soldiers to cause chaos. It was part of a grander strategy to undermine Burkina Faso's sovereignty. Here's where things get even more complex. Investigators discovered that the plot was designed not only to weaken Burkina Faso's government, but also to create a ripple effect across the region. By destabilizing Burkina Faso, these foreign powers hope to gain leverage over other West African nations, using the chaos to their advantage. It's a classic case of divide and conquer, a strategy that has been used by powerful nations throughout history to maintain control over resource-rich regions. Digging deeper into the investigation, Burkina Faso's intelligence agencies uncovered links between the suspect and a network of mercenaries operating in the Sahel region. These mercenaries, funded by wealthy foreign benefactors, have been involved in various covert operations aimed at toppling governments and sowing instability in West Africa. But why target Burkina Faso specifically?
Once again, we have no copyright to the video. We have to project and come in. So because of the music that is being played at the back, due to copyright, issues, so we have no copyright. We have to just stop and talk in between. So let's continue.
The answer lies in the country's recent efforts to assert its independence from foreign influence. Over the past few years, Burkina Faso has taken significant steps to reclaim control over its natural resources, renegotiating contracts with foreign companies and prioritizing national interests over foreign profits. This has not gone unnoticed by those who have long long benefited from exploiting the region's wealth. For these powerful interests, the rise of a stable, self-sufficient Burkina Faso presents a threat to their ability to maintain control over the region. The plot to destabilize the country was, in essence, a warning, a message to Burkina Faso and other African nations that attempts to break free from foreign influence would not be tolerated. The implications of this plot extend far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. The incident has exposed the lengths to which some nations and organizations are willing to go to maintain their grip on power in Africa. The use of economic leverage, covert operations, and mercenaries is a stark reminder of the new form of neo-colonialism that is taking shape in the region. This is not just about one man and a suitcase of cash. It's about a battle for control over the future of Africa. The continent, which has long been seen as a pawn in the geopolitical games of powerful nations, is once again at the center of a struggle for dominance. But this time, African nations like Burkina Faso are pushing back, refusing to be exploited. In response to this shocking revelation, Burkina Faso's government has taken decisive action to strengthen its internal security measures. The arrest of the suspect was just the beginning. The government has since launched a full-scale investigation into the network of operatives believed to be behind the plot. One of the key measures being implemented is a comprehensive review of the nation's security protocols, particularly concerning foreign nationals and investments. Burkina Faso is tightening its borders, increasing surveillance on foreign entities operating within the country, and enhancing its intelligence capabilities to detect and neutralize threats before they materialize. Furthermore, the government has called for greater cooperation among West African nations to counter the influence of foreign mercenaries and covert operatives. There is a growing recognition that regional stability can only be achieved through collective action, with nations working together to protect their sovereignty. Amid these developments, Burkina Faso has turned to its trusted allies for support. The country's leadership has reached out to its neighbors in the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, for assistance in strengthening regional security. Additionally, Burkina Faso is exploring partnerships with nations that have a vested interest in maintaining stability in the region, such as China and Russia. The move to seek support from non-Western powers is a strategic one. Burkina Faso's leaders are wary of relying too heavily on Western nations, given their history of interference in African affairs. By diversifying its alliances, Burkina Faso hopes to build a more balanced network of support that can help it navigate the complex geopolitical landscape. What's next for Burkina Faso?
Once again, we have no copyright to the video. We are almost getting to the end. I know it's kind of long, but I want you to see, how it all went down. All right? All right.
The story of the foiled plot is far from over. Burkina Faso's government is now focused on not only prosecuting those involved, but also addressing the deeper vulnerabilities that allowed such a plot to come so close to fruition. The country is doubling down on efforts to strengthen its military, secure its borders, and build resilience against future attempts at destabilization. In the end, the question is, how will this plot impact Burkina Faso's ties? The fallout from the foiled plot in Burkina Faso is not just a domestic issue. This incident has sent shockwaves throughout the entire West African region, highlighting the vulnerabilities and challenges faced by nations in this volatile area. As news of the conspiracy spreads, neighboring countries, regional organizations, and international allies are all taking notice. The implications for Burkina Faso's diplomatic relationships, security partnerships, and regional influence are significant. The attempted destabilization of Burkina Faso has served as a stark reminder to its neighbors. Countries like Mali, Niger, and Ivory Coast have watched closely as Burkina Faso's security forces navigated this high-stakes situation. For these nations, the incident has exposed just how fragile stability can be in a region already grappling with the persistent threat of extremist groups, political unrest, and foreign interference. But why did this incident capture the attention of so many neighboring countries? The answer lies in the interconnected nature of security in West Africa. Borders in this region are notoriously porous, making it easy for criminal networks, insurgents, and even foreign operatives to move freely. If a plot like this could almost succeed in Burkina Faso, it could just as easily be replicated in Mali, Niger, or other nearby nations. This realization has prompted a renewed urgency among West African leaders to strengthen regional cooperation. In an emergency meeting held in Abuja, Nigeria, just days after the plot was exposed, representatives from the ECOWAS Economic Community of West African states discussed the need for increased intelligence sharing and joint security initiatives. Burkina Faso's experience is now being used as a case study for how to prevent similar threats in the future. For Burkina Faso, the incident has underscored the importance of regional solidarity. The country's leadership is now working closely with its neighbors to fortify shared borders and enhance regional defense mechanisms. President Ibrahim Traore has been in talks with the leaders of Mali and Niger to establish joint patrols along their borders, aiming to prevent the infiltration of mercenaries and foreign operatives. The focus is not just on military cooperation, but also on building economic ties that can help stabilize the region. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are exploring ways to collaborate on infrastructure projects, trade agreements, and resource-sharing initiatives. The idea is that economic stability can serve as a buffer against external attempts to sow discord. One of the most significant outcomes of the foiled plot has been a renewed focus on the role of ECOWAS in safeguarding regional stability. For years, ECOWAS has been the backbone of West Africa's efforts to maintain peace and security. However, the recent events in Burkina Faso have exposed gaps in the organization's ability to respond swiftly to covert threats. To address these challenges, ECOWAS is now pushing for the creation of a regional intelligence task force, a collaborative effort aimed at detecting and neutralizing threats before they escalate. This task force would draw on the expertise of intelligence.
This is the reason why I canceled my internet subscription.
This brand new portable Wi-Fi router.
Intelligence agencies from across the region, pooling resources and sharing real-time information. The leadership of Burkina Faso has been a vocal advocate for this initiative. In a recent statement, President Traore emphasized, "The plot we exposed in Ouagadougou is not just an attack on Burkina Faso, it is an attack on the stability of the entire West African region. We must stand together to protect our sovereignty." While regional cooperation is crucial, Burkina Faso is also looking beyond West Africa for support. In the end, as we conclude this deep dive into the events of November 2024, it's clear that Burkina Faso has emerged stronger from this ordeal. The plot to destabilize the nation may have been thwarted, but the lessons learned will have lasting implications. This is a story not just about one nation, but about the power of integrity, unity, and resilience in the face of adversity. For the people of Burkina Faso, this is a moment of pride, a reminder that they are not powerless in the face of foreign interference. And for the rest of the world, it's a powerful example of what can be achieved when a nation stands together to protect its sovereignty. In the end, the attempted plot to destabilize Burkina Faso has backfired spectacularly. Instead of sowing division, it has united the country, inspired its people, and strengthened its resolve to chart its destiny. Burkina Faso is no longer just a nation fighting for survival. It is a beacon of hope for all those who believe in the power of resilience and the importance of standing firm in the face of pressure. Who do you think is behind all this? Can you name someone?
All right, that's the end of the video, but I'm going to leave that picture over there to say a few things. So let me discuss this first. What you saw in the video here, and see the livelihood of the people. Now, you see the Africans you see right here in this picture here. This is how all part of Africa, I'm not even going to say some. This is how all part of Africa people live. But then, how can people live in such condition in 2024? At the same time, this continent, it is the richest continent in the world. How can in 2024 people live in such condition, but at the same time, the resources that outsider, the West, are enjoying come from Africa. Sorry. How? How? Look at the condition of these people. That's how all Africa people live. That's how in every African nation, whether on the African continent or out of the African continent, people live. And even nation, African nation out of the African continent that is rich, this is how they live. How? And you see African leaders, these West African leaders, so comfortable. They are so comfortable living to see their people, and they drive, these African leaders drive through here. These African leaders drive, but these people go to work, drive, but these people come from work, go to their family, and sit and enjoy good life with their family. But when they're driving to work, they pass by these people. When they are driving from work, they pass by these people in the same condition. Now, when they go to work and then sit down and make bad deal, give their resources to the West, to the foreigner, are they comfortable living like this? Now, when they see African leaders who will rise up and say, no, I can't live to see my people like this. I can't live and drive through and see my people like this. Now, when they have African leaders who will take the stand and say, no, we got to do better. We got to improve the livelihood of our people. We got to take things into our own hand. Now, that person become the enemy to the West. And then that person become the enemies to the neo-colonialists. That person become the enemies to William Ruto. That person become the enemies to Nana Akufo-Addo. That person become the enemies to Tinubu. That person become the enemies to Ouattara. How? You see what is happening in Burkina Faso, right? To assassinate 17 assassination attempts. That is to tell you the West have been the supporter of this insurgency. That is to tell you the Western world have been a supporter of the terrorists. Because how can a man who said, no, we've been having foreign troops, we've been having foreign military, we've been having the AFRICOM, the so-called AFRICOM, we've been having the so-called French military, the so-called Canadian military, the so-called German military, the so-called British military, all of them in the same area. But they can't succeed. Here is a man saying, you know what? We Burkinabe, we Nigerian, Malian, we are going to take matter into our own hands if we want freedom. And here it is. Since the removal of this foreign military, there have been much progress. 40% of the land have been seized from the terrorists. Then when you have all these foreign military there was no progress. Now, the Burkinabe or the AES nation have taken matter into their own hands to fight for their own freedom. They say, okay, white man, we don't want you fight for us. America, we don't want you fight for us. France, we don't want you die for us. Because you don't want to die in the first place. You are here and you are not fighting. Great Britain, bravo. Go to your citizens. We don't want you die for Africans. You have never died for Africans in the first place. Germany, go to your citizens. We don't want you to die for Africans. You have never died for Africans in the first place. Canada, go and protect your citizens. You have never died for Africans in the first place, so don't die for Africa. Belgium, go. We don't want you to die for Africa. Africa will die for themselves, right? Now, and make them angry. These are the same people, right? Now supporting the insurgency against these people. I thought you'd be so happy to fight alongside with Ibrahim Traore to say, like, you know what? These guys are doing the right thing. So why would you want to assassinate a man who is fighting for his country, who is doing the right thing for his country? 100% of his people are in support of his agenda, his vision, his fight. The citizens are in support. And then you want to remove a man who is 100% supported by his people. That is to tell you, they are the ones supporting the proxy war, because war is a business. Without war, you'll be thinking about peace, you'll be thinking about empowerment, you'll be thinking about next innovation. But if there's a war, you will never think about innovation. All you will think about is how you're going to live, how you're going to survive for the next days. That's all you want to think about. And now the Western world have put us in a state of mind that, you know what, I just want to live to see the next day. I'm not talking about resources. I'm not talking about innovation. What better innovation when I don't have better life? What better resources when I don't have life? I'm thinking how to live. And that's how this kind of stage they put us in for us to not think for ourselves. But if there is peace, we will be innovative, because every day we wake up, we will not think about, hey, I just want to live today. The next thing you think about, how can I make progress? How can I improve this place? Because the next thing you think about, you will start thinking about, hey, we got to do something. If China did it, China is here, we can do the same thing. If XYZ did it, XYZ is here, we can do the same thing. So in order to make African not to think, you have to put it in perpetual suffering. You have to put it in perpetual war. So if you want to assassinate this man, that is to say, you guys are the people that have been supporting the proxy war, that have been supporting the terrorists. And we know that you did it with Gaddafi. You supported the Arab Spring. You destroyed Libya today. You killed Gaddafi today through the implementation of another black man, Barack Obama. Now, let me come to my second point of warning. Ibrahim Traore, the AES nation, don't get it twisted, because I have watched, right, the reaction of Africa, the African continent. When Donald Trump won the election, I've watched some of the reaction of Africans on the African continent and even in the diaspora. Oh yes, Donald Trump have won the election. America have new president, so we got to renegotiate, because a war Democrat is not in power now, and a deceitful Democrat is not in power now. The deadly Democrat is not in power now. So we have Donald Trump. So it is time, we got to go renegotiate. Listen to me, folks. Don't forget the worries of your ancestor, of your forefather. Malcolm X told us, what a liberal, what a conservative. They are all the same. They all carry the same agenda. Don't get it twisted. Even though Donald Trump might be a nationalist and not a globalist, don't still get it twisted. There is something called the United States Congress. Donald Trump cannot control the Congress. There are certain things he can veto. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump is not the Congress. The same people that was in power, or that were in power during the deadly Democrat, they are the same people in power. The same man that said, it is time for us to move the American bomber. It is time for us to move the American drum and go to Mali and go to Niger and rent them out and slaughter them and kill them. Mark Gaze, he's still in Congress. So they are there. Don't get it twisted. These people are still there. Tor Young, who said it is time for us to send our experts on the African continent and explore them. And then he got choked. He's still in Congress. Don't get it twisted. Donald Trump do not control the Congress. He might have his office. He only control his office, but he do not control the other offices. Donald Trump only control one office, and the rest of the offices, he don't control it. So don't get it twisted. Did you know that it was Donald Trump under his regime, under his administration, who sent McCarthy to Sudan, South Sudan? And you know why he did that? When they succeeded, 2020, 2022, 2020, 2022, they sent McCarthy to Liberia. And the moment McCarthy left, because the thing was already in place, the moment he left, what happened? Sudan war started, boom. Go into your research. You know, because majority of we don't do research, we don't learn, we don't know what is going on behind the scene. The moment McCarthy succeeded, he came to Liberia, and we know what he did in Liberia. He infiltrated the Liberian politics. He infiltrated the Liberian economic with propaganda, and he succeeded. They removed a popular government loved by his people, and who was first showing a calling to the needs and demand of his people. McCarthy vigorously and politically campaign against a government loved by his people. And today, that particular nation, Liberia, is feeling that decision because they listened to a white man. Because a white man came from heaven. Because the God they said looked like a white man. So when they saw McCarthy, they felt that anything the white man say, that's it. And they went by it, they 4x8. And they formed a propaganda machine, and they removed that government that was for the people. And today, the same Liberians are regretting. So the same Donald Trump took McCarthy from South Sudan after they succeeded, because by the time McCarthy left, boom, the issue in South Sudan started. And then he killed Liberia, he destroyed Liberia through propaganda. They invested through propaganda machine. They put a lot of money in. He himself said it. We have invested in the media. They did not invest in education, in healthcare, in food security. You look at, they did not, but they invested in propaganda machine to remove the former president. And the moment he spoke at that time, all the embassy, the United States embassy has spoken, the American embassy has spoken, and then we have opposition leader at that time. Every little thing, the United States is our partner. Well, it's not a bad thing for the U.S. to be a partner. But at the same time, you got to challenge the United States. The United States is a nation that can bully you if you don't challenge them. The United States love challenges. They love IQ people. They don't love. United States does not love dull people. You dull, they will use you. And that is why they have most of those African leaders who are dull, and they're using them. The dog. They don't know nothing, and they use them. If you don't know your worth, the United States will use you. The United States like people who understand their worth, who know who they are. If you don't challenge them, they will use you. If you don't stay 4 to 4 on them, they will use you. And I don't blame them. They know that. They know it. Once they test you and you fall for it, they say, oh, we get our junk. They will use you. So when they say McCarthy used the Liberian ignorantly, and they fall for it. And then you see this government official, every little thing, we are sending our communication, official communication to the United States Embassy. We are sending our official communication to McCarthy. Idiotic way of thinking. Idiotic way of thinking. The men who program you into perpetual condition that you find yourself in. And you think that man will come and take you for that program. First of all, you were programmed into that perpetual condition. for their own benefit. He's not going to remove you. He's not going to educate you on how to come out. Even if he educates you, he's going to educate you to work for him. He's going to educate you not to think critically. He's going to educate you not to move forward. And today, instead of moving forward, Liberia is moving backward. They are regretting. But 5 years they get to go. But let's continue to the assassination. So Ibrahim Traore, don't get it twisted because Donald Trump is in power. At the end of the day, someone who tell you say they are nationalists, listen to this. Although I don't support globalism because there is no globalism, it's a war that exists. But in this 2024, there is no global agenda to benefit anybody, especially the African nations and the African continent. There is no global agenda. So, although I support nationalism, as Donald Trump is, but here it is. When you are nationalist, you have no interest to support other nations. It is about you. So if Donald Trump is coming to your country to do anything, bear in mind, he's a nationalist. What he's going to do in your country, it is the interest of his country. Don't get it twisted. He do not control Congress. The path that you are on, be on a path and don't look back. Do not look back. Because what's going to happen? These so-called idiots in Africa, like what I'm saying, the West African leaders or ECOWAS leader, now we have another person in power who do not support corruption as he says, right? Who is a nationalist, and to some extent, he's going to cut down these so-called money, corrupt money that the U.S. gave to corrupt African leader. He's going to cut it down. What then going to happen? What then going to happen? These corrupt African leaders will now turn to Russia. As you can see recently, the moment Donald Trump won, William Ruto start running to BRICS. William Ruto coming to BRICS is not because he's coming to BRICS. He's actually making a way to Russia because he knows there's new sheriff in town. And this new sheriff, William Ruto, he will not get money. He may not be a puppet to that new sheriff that is in town. So he has to find a way to say he's going to the BRICS. But all along, the BRICS have been going on. William Ruto been warning a Danny with his slave master, to the extent his slave master took him to the White House and put him in a seat, in a presidential seat, like a child. Don't get it twisted. So these corrupt African leaders, what then going to happen? They are now going to come to you, the AES nation, Ibrahim Traore, and tell you, hey, you are doing a great job. If you are doing a great job, then they notice it, but they wanted to wage war against you. They wanted to take support ammunition from the U.S. to come and wage war against Africans. They didn't notice that, right? But it is not that they want to work with you. Let me tell you this. You are still in a formidable stage of growing. You are still in a formidable stage of freedom. You are not yet there. Do not allow any of these so-called nations that went against you, that wanted to come to fight you with the support of the US and Europe. Don't agree to them. You are not yet at that stage. Until you can empower yourself and settle and have a good, correct military. Before I can tell you, because at the end of the day, we are all African. It's the unity we're fighting for. But at this time, all the equal nation that went against you, that wanted to bring war, when they come to you, don't do it. Don't do it. Do not allow them to join the AES nation at this time. It is a wrong term. Because at the end of the day, Nana Akufo-Addo told you, there are many ways that they are trying to get Mali and Burkina Faso back to ECOWAS. There are many ways. So at this time, those many ways can be any ways. Do not allow any of those nations to come to the AES. It's not yet time. Yes, in the long run, in the future, yes, we might. But today, tomorrow, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, until even 2030, it is not yet time for any of those betrayers to be part of the AES. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Because they will be the enemy. Remember, these so-called leaders sat down there and they allowed the US to go and kill Gaddafi. Remember that. And they said nothing. Because although the US went and killed Gaddafi, we have never heard Nana Akufo-Addo one day going to the United Nations to question the United Nations about the death of Gaddafi, about the suffering of the Libyan people, that America promised to give the people better life that Gaddafi did not give them. Where is that better life? Nana Akufo-Addo did not question the United Nations to US, but rather he took you to the UN. Imagine that. Imagine that. He took you to the UN. So Ibrahim Traore, that's my second warning. This so-called nation, don't allow it. Kenya, don't allow William Ruto to say we are coming to collaborate. You know, we need to get together to fight injustice. Say we got to protect our border. Do not do it. A betrayer is a betrayer. I say it once again. A betrayer is a betrayer. Do not allow it. Ouattara, Cote d'Ivoire may come to you and say, listen, we are the same French country, or we are brother. Don't mind what happened. You know, we got to work together. Do not allow it. This is not a time. Benin shouldn't come to you. Don't allow it. They have foreign military there. They are not your brother in this moment. In terms of liberation, people who are not at your agenda are not your brother. They are your enemies. In terms of liberation, people who do not follow your ideology, they are not your brother, they are your enemy, and they can infiltrate you. At this time, Ibrahim Traore, please, 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 do not allow any West African nation that was at the verge of taking support from Europe and America to come and fight you. Do not allow any nation who supported sanction against Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to be part of the AES. This is not the time. We are fighting for unification, yes, but at this time, they are enemies. Do not allow it. That's my second warning. Now, my third warning. As you have been doing, continue to do it. Continue to inform the Burkinabes. Continue to inform the AES nation as you have been doing, communicating with them, telling them what is going on, what is about to happen. Continue to do it. Let the people be part of the governmental system. They may not be physically involved in decision making, but always inform them of the happening and what is happening, what is about to happen. In that case, they feel that you know their problem and you are listening to them. They are communicating with you. And that is why there have been 17 assassination attempts and all have failed just in 2 years. Kudos to the AES nation. You have the best president in the world. You have the best leader in the world. I mean the AES leaders. They are the best leader in the world. They are the best leader in the world and in Africa. Support those leaders, support the AES. Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, the citizens of those nations, support those leaders. They are doing the right thing. They see your interest and they want the betterment for this current generation and the next generation to come. Support and protect them always. Do not allow any missionary. In fact, that's my second warning, my third or my fourth warning to the AES nation. Ibrahim Traore, please do this. Listen to us. Do not allow missionary, foreign missionary, in terms of freedom, in terms of liberation, in terms of revelation, you do not allow foreign missionary in your country. Be alert. Nana Akufo-Addo said they are tried in so many ways. Be careful with missionary. Improve your security system. Improve your security system in every way. Whether the border, immigration, whatsoever, improve it. Improve it. Not just the military that go on the warfare or that support that around you, right? Immigration, everything, improve it. Make it tight. Hold it. Be careful with foreign missionary. Oh, we coming to preach the gospel. We coming to, we bring in NGO. We bring in death. In fact, around 2013, 2012, the Nigerian army told us, Medicine Sans Frontières, a French-based company, NGO, was supporting Boko Haram, were giving medical support to Boko Haram. How can they give medical support to Boko Haram at the same time the Nigerian army fighting these people and the Nigerian army fighting for medical supply? You do not give the supply to the Nigerian army, but you give it to the terrorists. That's a warning. These are the people that support the terrorists. The more they keep Africa in captivity, the more they continue to suck our resources. These people don't want no better and good for Africa. They are not our friends. They were never our friends, and they will never be our friends. We may have pretender, but at the end of the day, every pretender have an agenda. Every pretender have an agenda. We should know that. Let's continue as the warning continues. Now, the second video we're going to play here, I'm not going to play the whole thing because of time. The second video will give you a reason as to why they want the AES nation to be dissolved. They want Ibrahim Traore or Tiani or Akisimi Geita out. The second video is going to explain that. Now, in the second video, they are not talking about we want to see Ibrahim Traore assassinated or out, right? But you will see in this video why the West do not want Africa, do not want someone like Ibrahim Traore or the AES nation to exist. Let's watch it. Oh, I just took it out. Sorry, I gotta go back. Let me get it.
Well, of course, we just talked about ending the Fed. Is that the big plan, to get rid of the Federal Reserve? What's going to happen to gold? What's going to happen to the U.S. dollar? We are at a pivotal moment right now in the United States monetary policy and the future of this country. We wanted to bring in CEO of Lear Capital, our friend of the show, Kevin Demerit, who is a gold expert who watches these markets very closely. Love to have him on every few months to get an update on where things stand. And boy, do we have a big update to get into today. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Clayton.
Wow, what an unbelievable moment we are in. So, of course, you're watching all of this unfold right now. And as we just talked about here, ending the Fed. And, there's a big movement, it seems like, to embrace Congressman Ron Paul's plan to finally get rid of this unelected group of monetary policymakers that the United States voters have no say in, ending the Fed. So what do you make of that, first of all, and what do you think it'll mean for gold prices, for the US dollar, going forward over the next few years?
Yeah, there's a lot to that. So it's not a simple thing just to get rid of the Fed. But if you think about it, is it the right thing to do? Sure. The right things to do are sometimes the hardest things to do. But when you look at the U.S. economy and the government spending and debt, we're drowning in $37 trillion in debt. You have $1 trillion, $1.1 trillion in borrowing just for interest. We have to borrow $2.7 billion a day just to pay, the interest. It's unsustainable, as Elon Musk has said. A lot of countries have already been selling dollars and buying gold with the BRICS currency because they understand that.
Now, listen to this. A lot of countries have been buying gold in a BRIC currency. Now, listen to this, folks. We have been saying these things before, and most of you already know. The reason why the US, now, again, let me make this clear. What we discuss here is about Africans and African interests. Okay? Because we are the most needed people in society. We are the people who have been taken advantage of. So just because we are discussing the African interest, that doesn't mean we are against other nations or we are against other people. That make that clear. Now, or we are against other currency. Now, we have been saying this. The reason why a nation currency is powerful is because it has to be backed by resources. It has to be backed by resources. Now, and the issue here is most of the trading that is going on around the world, especially in Africa and African nations around the world, almost all African nations, both the African continent and out of the African continent, their resources are being traded in US dollar and pound. Leaving those nations in the African continent currency weak and weaker and nothing. Because at the end of the day, if you go to the African continent, the Liberian currency, it is only being used in Liberia, and it is not even used to trade or to buy the Liberian resources. That is if Liberia got some. Yes, Liberia got some, but the Liberian people don't even know what kind of resources they have. Because the journalists we have in Liberia, they are political journalists. All right? They are not economics journalists. They are propaganda journalists. Okay? They are now well-informed journalists. Okay? If a well-informed African who know the thing start talking about issue in Liberia, those journalists, those political journalists, those propaganda journalists will even go against the person, the well-informed person. Because those journalists will add that they even know what they're talking about. They will try to make that person look ugly or to make that person look like they don't know what they are saying. Instead of that journalist going to dig deeper as a journalist, because information is being given to you, because that's your work as a journalist. When you hear something, go and check it out. Go and do reference check. But they don't do it because they don't want to go do reference check, because they are being bought to do propaganda. That's not an error, right? They will make that person to look stupid and ugly. So they don't even know the kind of resources they have in Liberia. For example, I'm using Liberia, but I'm talking about the entire African continent. They don't even know the resources they have. You will be surprised for an African journalist, so-called journalist, to come and tell you, for example, in Liberia, Liberia does not have resources. Liberia does not have this. The only thing Liberia can depend on is foreign assets or foreign loan or international aid. But Liberia does not have the resources. How can you be so dumb and stupid to sit and say Liberia does not have the resources? That's how we operate on the African continent. We're not going to make war or to try to, no. That's how the African journalists operate. So that is why the US currency is getting weaker. And that is why they do not want an independent Africa. Because at the end of the day, they know their currency being powerful, it is back because of the African resources. Because anybody go on the African continent to operate what a foreign company, right? They're going to buy the mineral in US currency. Now, if you have these foreign companies in your nation that are managing your resources, at the end of the day, when they sell your resources, it's going to be sold in US currency. For example, in Liberia, the Big Mountain, you have a Turkish company. Then how can you tell me Liberia does not have a resources? If Liberia does not have a resources, what is a Turkish company doing in Liberia, mining our diamond, our gold, our mineral, our uranium? Then you tell me Liberia does not have resources? And you know the corrupt part about it, in Liberia. There's big money company, there's Turkish company. They have a package for the military. Every year, they have a package for the military. Does the United States, that's in Turkey, right? And they have a minimal resources there, and they have foreign company there. Does that foreign company have a budget just for the military, or whatsoever budget they need to go that they're supposed to get? It's will be signed by the House or by the Parliament or by the government. In Russia, in Liberia, those foreign companies like the Big Mountain, the Turkish company, bought the Liberian military. So that the daily Liberian people rise up to go and protest for their resources, to say it's not benefiting our community. The military will rise up. The military have to fight because that's where the military get their funding. And that is corruption. The military funding is not supposed to come from a company. But you see, our journalists, they will not investigate this. They will not talk about this. They will not bring this out. But they will come and tell you Liberia does not have resources. So that is why the pound and the US dollar is valuable. But now it's dropping. Go to the New York Stock Exchange. Right now, the British currency is operating, is functional. People buy go to the British currency, not the US dollar. And now the AES nation have made how they call it a recommendation to join the BRICS. So what then going to happen? The AES nation are going to control their mind, their diamond, their resources. Every income is going to come in to those nations. It's not going to go to France because they are no longer using the French currency, the CFA. Why you think they plotted to kill this man? Because if those nations succeed with the BRICS and they manage their resources now, and all income come to them, and they're building their nation, creating job opportunity, employment for their people, educational, healthcare. Like, do you see what Ibrahim Traore is doing? The healthcare system is going to be one of the best healthcare systems after Gaddafi, after America went and destroyed the healthcare system in Libya. Those nations, the AES nation, they're going to have the best medical facility in West Africa. And then maybe Africa at large. Do you see what is going on in Burkina Faso? It is all because they have control of their mineral resources. And now, they are no longer going to be using the CFA francs. What then going to happen? The rest of the African Francophone nation might join. Some of them might start joining. To say, you know what? We're going to join the BRICS. We want foreign company out of our nation. We're going to take control of our resources. The American currency is dying. The French currency died. The British pound died. And then these foreigners, Western foreigners who are taking advantage of the African resources, all of them are going to go bankrupt. Because where are they going to corrupt to get the resources? They will where? They will come to America, they will go to England, they will go to Australia. Nowhere to go. Now, if they want a resource, they have to buy it from according to our own price, our own prices that we put on them, our own value that we value our resource. The price, that's what they will pay. They all go bankrupt. What then going to happen? They will not be in a position to get loan to go. In fact, now the U.S. will be going to the IMF to borrow loan now instead of African leaders, African nation. So some of you dumb-headed African leaders, you don't understand what is going on, what is about to happen. Now Britain will be going to the IMF to take loan. They will be going to the IMF. They will not go to China and be begging for loan. They will not go to Africa and be begging for loan. That is what's coming. And that is what they are trying to avoid. So
that the US dollar and the US economy is kind of at a tipping point here. There's just too much debt. We have to continue to print to keep up just with the interest rate. So central banks around the world are holding the.
So you heard, because of the drop of the currency is no longer being backed by resources, right? You have to keep printing more money. And look, now what's going to happen is going to look at the African currency where, for example, you have $1 US, right? It's going to give you maybe $400 Liberian currency, for example. Because it is not backed by any resources, and that's how the US dollar going to be. So now they have to print and print and print and print, and it's still not going to be nothing. You heard what it said. It's not going to be backed by any resources. And then now you have to print. And what's going to happen? The more now you print, it becomes useless on the market. Let's continue.
Smallest dollar reserves in their central bank since 1999. This trend has already started where a lot of global de-dollarization is starting. And I think potentially the best thing to do is get rid of the Fed, get back on the gold standard, as Ron Paul has talked about. It would skyrocket gold, but it's the best thing you can do for the dollar. It'll strengthen the US dollar and hold it as the world's reserve currency.
You talk about the pain points, and I think that's a very, very important. You know, life, when you go through life, right? Life is all about discomfort. We only grow through discomfort. And these globalists have destroyed the U.S. economy in a way by driving down the value of the U.S. dollar. We're $36 trillion in debt right now. So there's going to be some pain when you end the Fed and you start to rein in spending. So where do you think we're going to see some pain points? And I think Americans should probably be aware of this, right? If you're going to make this drastic shift in policy, there's going to be some pain. Where do you expect to see some pain points?
Well, I think some of the pain points are going to come. Look, you have this BRICS currency that we've spoken about a couple of times on this program. And if you're going to end the Fed, what those countries are going to say, especially China, Russia, and India, we've already been going in this direction. We've already been backing a currency by gold. This is the way you should go, right? So now you've got some competition. I think that's going to be the most pain. Citibank came out and said, look, buy the dips in gold because of de-dollarization, global de-dollarization, and higher interest rates. So these countries out there are going to take advantage of this particular situation if we end the Fed. They'll probably take advantage of it because of the tariffs as well, and sell more treasuries. That's the trend that we've seen happen over the past 4 or 5 years. That's the value of the dollar's been going down. The value of the dollar's down 24% since 2020. And embrace, the BRICS currency. everything the U.S. government is talking about now, we've already talked about. We have this kind of nailed down with the BRICS currency, and they've already got 30 countries, fairly substantial companies, kind of jumping on the bandwagon with this with the BRICS currency. So I just think you're going to get an acceleration of more countries having to make a decision. And if they make the decision that BRICS is more stable, or it's got more support than the US dollar, then all of those dollars out in the world, Clayton, and there's more money, US dollars, outside the United States, because countries have had to accumulate to conduct trade with, that start to flood their way back into the US, right? All that cash is going to come back into the US, and inflation goes through the roof. If you look at the 6 other world reserve currencies, when they lost that status, for 2 or 3 years, they had to deal with incredibly high inflation because all of that currency came back into their country. The definition of inflation is too much money chasing too few goods, and you get inflation. So you're starting to see people like Stan Druckenmiller, who says, look, interest rates are probably going to be higher. Inflation isn't going to get down to the 2.1 that we believe it's going to, or the Fed that believes it's going to end up at, because potentially these dollars are going to come back into the United States. Exactly what Citigroup says here. So there's a lot of things that happen that are the consequence of ending the Federal Reserve. Again, is it the right thing to do? Sure, they've put us into this horrible situation, so let's get rid of them and come up with a better situation. But the consequences of doing that is the hard thing on the other side that will have consequences here in the United States for investors and your financial well-being.
So gold prices, you said Citigroup came out with this buy the dip right now. Gold down just a little bit right now. But historically, where Trump has been elected, what has happened? So we're seeing this little dip right now. Citigroup says, yeah, buy the dip because it's going to skyrocket. Bank of America, I think, has like a price target for gold, like over $3,000 an ounce. I think UBI Bank, I think, also has it over like $3,200 an ounce. So what has historically happened here when we see these sort of dip periods?
Yeah, so in this article, it's a great question. The last time Trump was elected, we saw about a 5.5%, 6% pullback in the gold price, and then when he got into office, from that point on, we saw a 54% increase in the gold price. I think you're going to see a substantially higher increase this time. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a 60 or 65% increase, because he's tackling things that people have not wanted to tackle before. If the Federal Reserve, tariffs, is it the right thing to do? Absolutely. Is there going to be some ramifications because of it? Absolutely. So that volatility is kind of what Citibank, Bank of America, UBS, a lot of those other banks are talking about with a higher price of gold. And other countries around the world have already been accumulating at record levels in preparation of a dollar or de-dollarization.
I mean, how difficult would this be, Kevin, to suddenly take the U.S. dollar, since we haven't had this since 1971, and put the U.S. dollar back on a gold standard to what, Congressman Dr. Ron Paul wants, and what Elon Musk seems to be pushing for, and what even J.D. Vance seems to be coming around on? How difficult would that be with $36 trillion in debt? Like, what would that look like in America? I can't wrap my head around. We're so used to debt. We're so used to printing fake money. The Fed just is used to printing money whenever they want. Now they'd be held accountable for it. It seems to me like the chickens would come home to roost in a big, big way.
Well, so 2 things would happen. First of all, I'm in the greatest industry in the world if this happens, because right. You can't back every dollar for dollar with gold like we had back in 1974. You'd have to back a portion of it. Same thing the BRICS countries are talking about. Some portion of the dollar would be backed by gold. Again, fantastic for gold. It doesn't matter if you are backing just a tenth of it or a smaller amount even. The gold price is going to go through the roof. The second thing that happens is, and people have to understand this, prior to 1974, every time you printed a dollar, you needed to back it by gold. That stopped the money printing from getting out of control. So going forward, after they backed it by gold, now you have a control that says, hey, look, I can only print money if I can purchase some physical asset that can't be printed and back some portion of it with it. Again, gold skyrockets, but at least it controls the spending, keeps the dollar strong, and makes America better. Again, some consequences.
All right, because of time, we got to take that out. Now, so you see what is happening, right? And the AES nation, have taken the lead to join a break. So now, just apart from South Africa, you're looking at the AES nation trying to jump. And then we also saw William Ruto, but I don't believe in William Ruto because yesterday he was just warning the Donny, but because you have different government now, you have different sheriff in town, William Ruto quickly make a U-turn. But again, while William Ruto is making a U-turn, at the same time, the US too have also made a U-turn to go to Burkina Faso. You see? Africa have always been played by the West. They will make us clutch, right? And then they go behind us and make peace with the nation or with the individual of with the people they make us to clutch with. So they make us clutch and then go behind, make peace with that person, and then we there now fighting each other. That's the same thing they have done with ECOWAS, with Nana Akufo-Addo and Tinubu and the other nations. Why the US going behind making peace with Niger or Burkina Faso? Because they look at it listing. Even though as we are making these African nations to go knock on head with each other, and if it don't work, which of course these African nations have seen with the West as the main enemies, the better for us to go behind the scene and make peace with them, it will be better for us. Because at the end of the day, it's about preserving the American or the European empire, the American or the European power. And that power can only be preserved if Africa remains in perpetual captivity. Because if one African nation rises, the rest will rise. That's what happened with the shame independent one. Haiti took the lead. Other African nations start taking step. It was just one African nation, Haiti, that today we are at some point. So if another African nation, small nation, like Burkina Faso or the AES take the lead, it's going to be a problem to them. Right? So let's look at the next video. Now, you have seen what back the US or the PAM or the CFA, right? Now you know why they want to kill Ibrahim Traore, why they want to dissolve the AES nation for us to go back in the hands of the colonialists as the neo-colonialists continue to subjugate in the interest of the colonialists against their people. Now you see why there was assassination attempt. Now you see why they gave $5 billion, which is 8 million, to kill Ibrahim Traore. Now you see. Let's continue to the next. Let's see the next one, why the US now have gone behind the scene. We have no copyright to the video.
Cooperation between the US and Burkina Faso, strengthening ties, pop up in the respect, lovely people. I'm always happy having you on board. Guys, today we are in Burkina Faso. Amazing, interesting things are happening in Burkina Faso, especially from September, October, November. Amazing things are happening. Mind-blowing stuff, guys. First of all, let me give you a highlight of the 3 key things that happened. In September, Burkina Faso saw the support of the people of Burkina Faso in the diaspora coming to support Burkina Faso. In October, we saw other nations in Africa collaborating with Burkina Faso for their development. And then in November, we saw the United States together with the West making a complete U-turn about their stand against Burkina Faso. Guys, it is mind-blowing and it is very interesting. Guys, before we get into it, kindly subscribe and like the video. I know some of you will be like, the Western America making U-turn. I'll tell you why and how. Now let's get into the entire story. After the coup d'etat in Burkina Faso, or let me say revolution, they call it coup d'etat, we call it revolution in Burkina Faso. The news or the narrative on the Western media about Burkina Faso is all about terrorism here and there. Ibrahim Traore is adopting people here and there, propagating all kind of negativity about the nation and making it look like the nation under the leadership of Ibrahim Traore has become some fearful jungle vibe, somewhere that people will not like to go. You don't see these people publishing the good things happening in Burkina Faso. All these things, the main aim is to scare people from going there to invest for the development of the nation. These have been their strategy for decades. Shockingly, entrepreneurs in the diaspora disregard this negative narrative about Burkina Faso, and they are now showing massive support for the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. Recently, in September, Burkina Faso's president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, met with a delegation from the organizing committee of the Second Forum of Diaspora Entrepreneurs. The forum took place on September 20th to 21st. And the theme of the forum is mind-blowing. The theme is Diaspora Investment in Present-Day Burkina Faso. Businesses, opportunities, and patriotism. This is wild, guys. Let me repeat that. Maybe you didn't hear it well. The theme of the forum is Diaspora Investment in Present-Day Burkina Faso. Businesses, opportunities, and patriotism. And Captain Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso, was pleased to see Burkinabe living abroad, showing interest in returning to invest in their homeland. Now, during the discussion between the delegation and the president, the delegation highlights challenges that diaspora entrepreneurs face in trying to invest in Burkina Faso during the former France-controlled democratic regime, which make it difficult for them to invest in their own country. And you must understand that once the system is run by France, there's no way they are going to make it easy for them. And one key issue the people in the diaspora raised before Ibrahim Traore was the administrative hindrances or roadblocks that slowed down the processing of investment applications. Now, Captain Ibrahim Traore, after listening to them, promised them that, look, they are free to come to invest without any difficulties. Measures are now put in place to make it easier for them to invest in their own home without any difficulties. So they are welcome to invest in their own land. Because according to Ibrahim Traore, he said that is the only way the nation can develop without any hindrances. When the nation is built by the people of the land, its success cannot be controlled by outsiders. And the people of diaspora were so happy about this. And in quote, this was their response when giving a speech about the outcome of their meeting with Ibrahim Traore. In quote, we received a positive response and assurance from the president that effort will be made to streamline administrative processes and ensure timely support to move things forward. And right now, it's like the West or the US trying to isolate Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is actually gaining more friends instead of being isolated. Before we get into the shocking trick and U-turn of the US, Ethiopia is also currently collaborating with Burkina Faso through one of their biggest engineering industry called Bijeto Industry and Engineering Solution. Bijeto is an Ethiopian company which focuses on industrial development and engineering, precisely in manufacturing engine, or let me say machines. Now, following the arrival of the entrepreneurs from the diaspora in September, then on October 29th, 2024, that's just in the space of 1 month, Burkina Faso's president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, welcomed a delegation from Bijeto Industry and Engineering Solution. Their aim is to come train the young people of Burkina Faso to engage in machine manufacturing to help industrial lines move faster in Burkina Faso. And this will simply make Burkina Faso to stop importing machines from China or wherever. Instead, they will be manufacturing it themselves. When you talk about agricultural machines and whatever it is, industrial machines, they will be manufacturing it themselves. That is where Burkina Faso is going to. The nation they are referring to, that their leader is a dictator, is this and that, this is where the nation is going to. Now, this is the shocking point. Now, the West and America realizing how people are now running to collaborate with Burkina Faso, then from nowhere, out of the blues, cooperation between the US and Burkina Faso, strengthening ties pop up in the news. I say, hey, I'm like, how? Now, US is now making U-turn or what? Now, on 4th November 2024, United States ambassador to Burkina Faso went to meet Burkina Faso's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Now, the purpose of her visit or the meeting is to discuss cooperation and Burkina Faso's development as their priority, and also to understand the Burkina-based government vision or the vision of Ibrahim Traore. So they're making it look like, at first we're not understanding you. We are here to check, what exactly do you mean so that we can support you. These guys are tricky. The USA ambassador, Lockhart, expressed that her visit was part of an effort to listen and understand Burkina Faso's current situation. So it simply means that you did not even understand before you were publishing rubbish about him. Now, when you realize that people are now coming without you or not, they are going to succeed. You want to be part of their success. Hey, because, they want to always claim that title that we support you, we help you, And according to her, this understanding is crucial, especially with the US presidential election, because Washington is considering future support strategy with Burkina Faso. This is what she said. Now, I know so many of you impatiently, you are asking, what was the response from Burkina Faso? The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Burkina Faso sarcastically gave her punches, guys. The minister, first of all, welcomed this approach and emphasized that if the US or whoever want to deal with Burkina Faso expect the person to obtain information from official sources rather than relying on potential inaccurate reports. He's talking to them how they have been using their Western media against them. He said the US or whoever want to be partner with Burkina Faso must consider Burkina Faso's specific need and avoid implementing preset agendas. That's a punchline, because we all know this sudden turn of the US towards Burkina Faso will surely be accompanied by a preset agenda. So in September, the people of diaspora visited to invest in their country. In October, Ethiopia came in to support industrial line. Then in November, US is also making U-turn together with the West. Guys, what do you make of this? Let's share our thoughts in the comment, and don't forget to subscribe.
All right, so let we comment on that first of all. Now, I did not pull out the article because I felt that wasn't very necessary, because he came out with quotes, that he read and stuff. So that's why I brought the video instead of me reading article, right? But I said this, like he said, the US is saying they want to come to understand the situation of Burkina Faso, the needs of Burkina Faso. You see, that is being hypocrite. How can the US say they want to come to understand the situation, the needs of the Burkinabe, what the Burkinabe people want, and then so that they can work with the Burkinabe? United States, US Congress, you did not understand the needs of the people when you asked ECOWAS to go wage war on the people, when you asked ECOWAS that you will give them ammunition and support to go kill Burkinabe. You did not understand their need. You did not understand their need when you asked ECOWAS to put sanctions on Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali. You did not understand their need. You did not understand their need vigorously when you went and told Nana Akufo-Addo, Tinubu, or Ouattara, Harassa, to put sanctions on the people, to go wage war on the people. You did not understand their need. It is not that you understand, it is not that you want to understand their need. You did not understand their need when you call Ibrahim Traore a dictator, a terrorist, when you hated him. Oh, you did not understand their need when you refuse for them to come to the so-called US-Africa Summit. I don't even know what Africa they did it like when they came from there. But you refuse. I thought if you wanted to understand their need, you was going to allow them to come to express themselves, to tell them. You did not do it. You said they will not come. Oh, you did not understand their need when you took them off of, US Africa Agriculture Goa Funding, something, I don't know how you call it. You took them from other benefit. You did not understand their need at that time. Oh, I see. But let me say this again as another warning to Ibrahim Traore and to the AES. You know, I watched a movie about World War II. A Russian guy was in the United States military, and they were on the front, on the war front. And this Russian guy in the Marine, he was a point guy, like the sniper. And he saw the Russian army, and he was to shoot this army or these people, right? But he allowed the Russian army to pass through the ambush and went. And then when they went to ask the Russian guy who was in the Marine, and they asked him, why did you do it? And his response was, once a Russian is always a Russian. Now, that is just a scenario. Ibrahim Traore to the AES. That U-turn that they made, don't fall for it. Because that scenario that I gave, once a Russian is always a Russian. Once a CIA is always a CIA. And once an FBI will always be an FBI. Once a betrayer will always be a betrayer. Once a colonizer will always be a colonizer. Once an imperialist will always be an imperialist. Once an oppressor will always be an oppressor. They are not your friend. They will not be your friend. And they will never, ever be your friend. They fight that. They wanted to assassinate you. They fight that they wanted to bring war to assassinate or kill your people, to destroy your nation. They fight that they support a sanction. They are not your friend. They will never be your friend. They never care to listen to your issue, to listen to your need, to your people. In fact, they were the one there. They had their army. They said they were fighting for you to come fight for terrorists. Did they fight for terrorists? They are not strangers on the African continent. They've been on the African continent since the 1600s. They did not understand African problem. Since the 1600s, they've been on the African continent. Then why would they come 2024 and they tell you they want to come to understand the African problem, what you are going through, so that they can work with you? In fact, our problem was caused by them. How can they come to tell you they want to come and understand your problem? When our problem, African problem, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, the list goes on. Our problem was caused by the US, was caused by Portugal, was caused by Europe, Germany, England, France, you name it. It was caused by them. Why would they come to you to say, we want to understand your problem so we can work with you? Oh, why didn't they work with Gaddafi? Ibrahim Traore, that is another warning. Once a colonizer and oppressor will always be an oppressor. Do not believe these people. They did it to Gaddafi. Gaddafi fair. He had a black brother in office as the US president. He went and shook hands with Obama. He said, my brother is now the president. He went and made himself vulnerable to his brother Barack Obama. Because he said his brother was not a black man, was not a president for the US. He went and opened up. What happened? It was that brother that went and killed him. It was that brother that went and supported insurgency. It was that brother that honored Marine. It was that brother that told African nation not to step there. When African leaders are calling to Museveni of Uganda, they got in a plane that was about to go to Libya. But Barack Obama called them and said, I dare you try it. You will get lost like a dust in the air. Even though he did not say Barack Obama, but he said the US. Oh, but who controlled the US? Who went there? Barack Obama. So we're using. So Ibrahim Traore or the AES, don't fall for it. What are you 10? What are down 10? What are up 10? What are left 10? What are right 10? What are forward 10? What are back 10? Don't agree. They are enemies. They will kill you. Nana Akufo-Addo said they are trying in many ways to get the AES back to ECWA. He did not say we are going to try to negotiate, or if they don't come back, that's it. Let them do what they want to do. Let them go. But he said they are going to try in many ways. That many ways can be any ways to get you. That U-turn, it is not a good U-turn. They killed Thomas Sankara. They killed Patrick Lumumba. They killed Amilcar Cabral. They killed all our revolutionary leader, all our good leader, all our democratic leader. They killed all Africans who wanted the betterment for Africa. They killed all of them. They will kill you if you get a chance. They will assassinate you if you get a chance. Don't do it. Keep going. Don't look back. Don't look back. Keep going. Nkrumah said, forward ever and backward never. Don't look back. Keep going. They were your enemy yesterday that wanted to kill you. They put sanction. They wanted to support war. They are still your enemies. It's just another tactics, like Nana Akufo-Addo said. We are trying in so many ways. It's just another tactics. They don't want to do business with you. If they wanted to do business with you, they wouldn't have killed Thomas Sankara. Let's continue here and see what I'm talking about. They are fighting by all means to get by everything they think that is for them. These people think they own Africa. Look, they think they own Africa. They think Africa for them. They think what their forefathers did is for them. It was for their benefit. That's the belief they have. And they will fight for it. That's the belief they have. And we have these so-called dumb and stupid motley African leaders on the African continent, some of them, who went against the interests of their own people.
Ruled the world, destroyed themselves. Now here's the big part. The Roman Empire did not fall by invasion. It fell by disintegration. Disintegration means it fell apart, like a piece of cake that just broke up in little pieces. That's how the Roman Empire fell apart. Or you just broke up. And what happened was everybody scrambled for power. And the result was many little kingdoms. Instead of one kingdom, many little kingdoms. Let me give you some of their names. Spaniard, Franco, Belgier. This is Roman kingdom. Anglo, Roman kingdoms. Portugal, Roman kingdom. We know these kingdoms in English. Franco, France. Belgier, Belgium. Porco, Portugal. Anglo, Spaniard. They're all kingdoms. They are all Romans. They are all Romans. So their psyche, their mentality, ingrained. We were chosen by the gods to rule anybody who don't have our traits. They were chosen by the gods to be our servants and our slaves. They are not complete divine beings like us. We are superior. So the French and the Spanish, the Portuguese and the British, Anglo, call them Anglo, they decided to expand their kingdoms. So they came to Africa and the Caribbean, and we call it colonization. Colonization is the expansion of Greek leadership philosophy. So going to Africa and bringing slaves over as merchandise was easy. Why? Big nose, big lip, dark skin, busy head, black eyes. I found 1 million servants, they say. So they come to the West, they establish their plantations, whether it is Carolina or Florida or Louisiana, or the Bahamas or Jamaica or Barbados or St. Kitts or St. Thomas or St. Lucia or Guyana or Mexico. They had their plantations and they couldn't use the people they met here because they killed them out with disease. And so they went and found some divine slaves chosen by the gods to work the ground. And they brought them over on ships. And the first ones to bring them was the Portuguese. The Portuguese told the British, we found some people to work the farms. And the British said, where you got them from? They follow us. And they went to the west coast of Africa. And then the French found out. The French says, oh, let's go get some too. And then the Spanish says, oh, let's get some too. And everybody started dashing for divine slaves. Remember, divine means you were chosen by the gods. It's not racism. It's leadership philosophy. That is in the psyche of the system. Oh, I am here. You are here. Some of you of my pigmentation and millions of us here in the region because of a leadership philosophy. That's how important leadership is. If the blind lead the blind. We were being led and they convinced you. Matter of fact, if you read the writings of the oppressor, they wrote things like this. They read the Bible on you. They said, now you must be good slaves. And they gave us Jesus. You wonder why, the black Muslims and people like that rose up? Because they even used Jesus as part of manipulation. Jesus said you must be nice slaves. Then you'll go to heaven. If you go to heaven, you'll get robe and shoes. You can't get them now because we ain't giving you none. But you get them and you get to heaven. So now so the slave in the farm starts singing, I got a shoe, massa, you got a shoe. All of God's children got a shoe, but I ain't gonna get mine until I go to heaven. I'll walk all over. See, in other words, you get yours now, massa. I can get mine and I go to heaven. All of that is brainwashing. Those songs that we used to glory and call Negro spiritual, you need to read the words of those songs. They are strong songs of conversion for your mind to make sure you never rise above. I used to sing them, so don't look at me funny. I was born in a little town called Baintown. That was a village of slaves. I'm trying to show you where leadership problems come from. So for 394 years, they ruled these islands and they made all of us believe you were born to clean my house. You were created to plant my corn. You were sent by God to wash my clothes and cook for my children. And so there we were stuck in the back room. Oh, by the way, you ain't got no charisma, so you must be seen and not heard. You see, that's part of the system. So you're supposed to work, but no one's supposed to see you. And so the little slave walk around the house cooking, and they ain't supposed to be around when master got friends. See, the whole thing, that's why some of y'all are timid. You're so timid today, and you think you're cool. Timidity was taught. That is why when a man of my pigmentation speaks up, it makes them nervous because you ain't behaving. Some of y'all wonder why they thought Martin Luther King was a problem. Because he was a black man talking loud. You ain't supposed to talk loud. Stay in your southern church, have church with a stained glass window and shout by yourself. Don't come out here telling us we're wrong. That was the problem. It was a leadership problem. To tell Miss Rosa Parks that she's in the wrong seat was very natural for them. You don't understand. You say, there ain't no prejudice. This is the conditioning of the culture. You ain't supposed to sit here. Yeah, but I'm a human. You ain't no complete human. See? The gods told us where you're supposed to sit. In the back, they say. Divine assignment. I'm saying this for a reason. That is still here in the Bahamas. Yes. No matter how much school you go to, no matter how many degrees you get, no matter how much you think you know, when you come back, they tell you, you're just a smart slave. It's a leadership mentality. So now you know why Miles Monroe is angry. You see why I hate oppression? Because I got the truth. I love it. I love everybody. I like everybody. I like everybody. But don't you ever imagine you're better than me. You think you're better? I draw a line. Cross that. That's a Bain Town talk. You don't know about that. And if a fella draw a line, that means fight start.
Okay. So what she just watched there, right? It's just the elaboration of how these people think that what their forefathers fought for, it is actually it is their inheritance. It belongs to them. It's for them. That is why last week, right, we talked about this. That is why you always hear them saying, it is African people, it is black people that need to pay them for what it did to us. In fact, what it did to us, in fact, it even gave us economic benefit. It even exposed us to civilization. It to say we never had civilization. And research have told us that African civilization have been the first, and it is the first, and it is the best ever. In fact, white men never had civilization. In fact, what they have, it is what we have that they continue to learn on, and that is why they continue to have our artifact, our in their museum, what our forefathers made. They don't want to release it. So you see what is going on. Whether on the African continent, whether out of the African continent, these people feel that what their forefathers did, it was in their interest, and it is for them. What was left behind, it is their inheritance. That's how they feel. So they should fight to protect it. What their forefathers did on the African continent, that today they are rich, they should still maintain it. That's how they feel. That is how they feel. It belongs to them. We belongs to them. That is why each time as a black man, whether on the African or out of the African continent, as long as you come out to fight for your people, for your need, for your interest, they see you as an enemy. So like the preacher said, when they told Rosa Parks to go to the back, or that's not her seat. Look, it was not, that's how they feel. They feel it is their right. It is what their forefathers fought for. So you as a black man, when you are fighting, well, as a neo-colonialist, you are fighting to protect oppression. You are fighting for what your forefathers fought against. You are fighting for it. So yes. So when you see them doing things, they are protecting what they think belongs to them. You protect what your forefather left for you, right? What your parents left for you, right? You protect it. You fight to preserve it for your children to come. Because if you don't protect it, if you don't preserve it, your child, your boy child, or the generation coming after you, what would they have? Nothing. So they got to protect it. They got to fight for it. They got to do what they got to do. So that is why we are not supposed to have a neo-colonialist, a bourgeoisie, a puppet. They're going to do what they got to do, and they're going to keep doing it. That is why they have no remorse to say we cannot apologize for what our forefather did, because it put in a better position that you are not. Aren't you coming to us begging us for money? Aren't you coming to the same World Bank, the same money that we use when we used to sell you as a black man, when we used to sell you as property, when we hire you as the most commodity in the world? Now you come into, it's the same money you come into the World Bank, it's the same money. That's why they created the World Bank. It was true that they created the IMF. So now if you go to them for the same, that's why they say you benefit from it. So you don't expect a man who perpetually program you to put you in a stage that you're in, and they want you to remain in that stage. You don't expect that man to remove you from that program. It's not going to work.
We cannot ask the people who programmed us into oblivion to program us out of it. Education has but one honorable purpose, one alone. Everything else is nonsense. And that is to train the student to be a respectful and a responsible handler of power. People do not train you in how to take their power away from them when they hold power by controlling you. To expect this of other people is a contradiction in terms. Freedom is something you do not wish upon, you do not dream upon. Freedom is something you take with your own hands. When people dictate the content of education, they're dictating what goes into your mind. And when they dictate that, they're going to dictate your action. And though you might lie about it, so long as you are in this position, you are some form of a slave. Free yourselves from it, and do not expect others to do it for you. Without begging at the door of people who reduced us to beggars.
Yep.
So that is it there. And because of that, they don't want you to take that freedom. Watch the next video and see. That is why systematically they've been killing us. Watch this.
Thank you. Philip in Jackson, Mississippi, Independent Line. Hi, Philip.
Hi there, young lady. All I can really understand what you're just explaining to the folks that listen to the program today is that you believe that pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps is the way to go, and that if you just do that, everything else will work all right.
Those words didn't come out my mouth. I said if you want something bad enough, you'd work hard for it.
That's the perception I received by listening.
The reality is what I said. But go ahead.
Wait, hold on, Philip. Michaela, just clarify what you said.
I said that if you want something bad enough, you will work towards it. That does not mean that you will not receive outside help. That does not mean that somebody won't come along and give you a hand up, not a hand out. That does not mean that you have to do it completely on your own. But the fact of the matter is you will dedicate your time, you will dedicate your resources, you will dedicate your life to creating a better situation for yourself.
Okay, Philip, go ahead with your comment.
Okay. Now, what I wanted to really ask her was who or how many people can she name that she sees as leaders in the Black community that she believes in? And my final question would be, and does she listen or take into account some of the teachings of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X in terms of self-improvement in the Black community?
What was the first part of the question? I know the second part about Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan. What was the first part?
Well, let's take it from right there because.
So Malcolm X is actually one of the greatest people I think ever to touch this planet. I actually have By Any Means Necessary tattooed on my back. And that speaks to the whole, if you want something bad enough, you're going to get it. By any means necessary. Additionally, to question my support for the conservative party as if Malcolm X wasn't a conservative himself is quite interesting. Malcolm X preached that blue-eyed white liberals were the Black community's biggest enemy. And yet here you guys are touting blue-eyed white liberals or people who are, you know, a Black woman who's the face, but of course, you know, will be controlled by blue-eyed white liberals. It's very interesting to me that the Malcolm X enthusiasts or even the Martin Luther King enthusiasts would act like our leaders were not preaching these things to us 60, 70 years ago. Additionally, the first part of the question was, can I identify any Black leaders that we have currently in the community? Unfortunately, all of our leaders have been assassinated.
Very good. That's the part I wanted to get. Unfortunately, all of our Black leaders have been assassinated. And all those Black leaders, they were people who wanted good for their people. Why didn't the U.S. come to them and say, listen, we want to understand what you want. We want to work with you. But they killed them. We have no friends. No one. All they want is for us to continue to be in perpetual captivity. Because they feel that the status they have to date, before that status before it got to them or before it came to them through what? Captivity, through oppression, through torture, humiliation, killing, rapes, through rape. That's how That power came to them. So if they are to maintain that power, they have to maintain that power through the same oppression, through the same subjugation, through the same propaganda and whatsoever means. They never got that power. They never got the wealth that they have through negotiation, through good business, good deed, or through their own hard labor. No. That's how they got it. So they got to fight how to maintain what they got the way they got it. You heard what she said. All of the black leaders that fought for black people, empowering this country, they got assassinated. It's the same way on the African continent. It's a crime in the eyes of the oppressor to fight for your freedom. Not even ask, because freedom is not giving. It's a crime in the eyes of the oppressor to fight for your freedom, to take your freedom. It's a crime. You know why it's a crime? Because it's going to put pocket, a hole in your pocket. So it's a crime. So Ibrahim Traore is a warning to the AES nation. Once a terrorist, one an enemy will always be an enemy. Whether you 10 or whether what 10 or this 10, don't believe them.
Jewish people that say they're our friends were the principal architects of the slave trade. They were the principal beneficiaries of the slave trade. We have this documented, sisters and brothers, from their own scholarly writings, not from the mouth of Louis Farrakhan. They were the principal architects in distributing the slaves. They were the auctioneers that sold the slaves. They were the plantation owners that bought the slaves. They were the masters that worked the slaves. They were the ones that helped to rob us. The same Jewish people that say they're our friends were the principal architects of the slave trade.
And still, they are still the same architect of the system. Don't trust them. Nana Akufo-Addo said they are working in many ways. That many ways can be any ways to get you. And it is at any ways that they have been getting our leaders, systematically killing them with no remorse. Don't forget, it was in the same 21st century on our watch they killed Gaddafi because of the vision and the exploration Gaddafi has for Africa and the African children. The US did not want it for Africa to rise. They killed Gaddafi for that. They did not want for Africa to get her freedom. They killed Gaddafi for that. They did not want for Africa to mine her own gold, mineral, uranium to support her people home and abroad. They killed Gaddafi for that. Principal architect. Don't get it twisted. Nkrumah said, don't never sleep on the imperialists, because the imperialists are never asleep. So why should we always go asleep? And you have these dumb, stupid, motley hair African leaders, some of them, who always want to sleep. Let's watch another one again, see. Everything we do, we are reacting on what they say. This is not hate. They are the hateful people, to be frank. They are the hateful people. And then they will do all these things and then come and say, oh, you know what? Why can't we just move on? But your attitude making us not to move on. And we will never move on along with you. We are moving with ourselves. We don't need you to move on. We don't need you to come and understand our problem. Because the reality here is our problem was caused by you. It is caused by you. How can you come to understand a problem that was caused by you, maintained by you?
They actually be paying us, because some of these Caribbean countries are very prosperous. They've done extremely well. And they did well because the British gave them the rule of law. They've done extremely well. And they did well because the British, and they actually be paying us, because some of these Caribbean countries are very prosperous.
For what they have done to them. Watch this clip. We'll come back and discuss.
And they actually be paying us, because some of these Caribbean countries are very prosperous. They've done extremely well. And they did well because the British gave them the rule of law and democracy and capitalism. And this has been incredibly successful. The British Empire was an amazing force for good, for civilization, and for raising people's standards of living. So why should we have to pay for doing that? Surely we should be paid.
As you heard, that is his stake. But guess what? Our good sis was not going to let him get away with saying that. She checked him, and real good. Watch this clip. We'll come back and discuss.
I think that's a very bold question to ask a strong black woman on your channel, Jacob. And I'll actually pose a question to you. Would you say that about Jews? So I'll just give the context. First and foremost, one could easily argue that the Jewish community, the Israeli Jews, benefited from the Holocaust. And Hitler. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. Let me bring it home, Jacob. Let me bring it home. They benefited from Holocaust and Hitler due to the fact that they were given the state of Israel, their life expectancy improved, and last but not least, their GDP improved, Israel's GDP improved as a result of Germany giving reparations in 1952. So would you say on national TV about the Jews that they should be happy and should be thanking Hitler and the Holocaust, Amy and David, for what they have gone through because they have benefited in terms of money? I would argue that Amy and David, Jacob wouldn't say this about Jews, but he's saying it about black people. So let me know what you're saying.
Have you noticed how there's double standards for different race of people? When it comes to black people, you should pay us for colonization. You should pay us for slavery, because guess what? We introduced you to democracy. We showed you how to do A, B, C, D. But when it comes to other races of people, it's no, they deserve reparations. They deserve what has been done for them after what they went through. Listen to this hypocrisy. Listen to this double standard, and let us know what your thoughts are about this, because this is not the first time we're reporting on British journalist or a British politician saying that, why should we pay reparations? Instead, we need to be paid for what we have done for these people. Just last week, I talked about how a British politician said former colonies should be grateful that we have colonized them. British politician Robert Jenrick says former colonies by the white man. He said Britain's former colonies should be thankful for the legacy of the empire, not demanding reparations. Robert made the comments in an article in the Daily Mail pushing back against the growing momentum to provide reparations and just.
Okay, we take that. We're going to play one more last video, right? So now, again, you saw what is in there. Like I said, look, these people will do what they think is in their interest. You know, what is suffering we Africans is the disunity, and then the bourgeoisie or the neo-colonialist or the puppet leader or the betrayer we have among us. The betrayer we have among us. You see, I mean, let's be frank. You see, white people, all the way they do those things, they say those things, right? Do you see, like, white media coming out talking against these things? Like, hey, you can't do that. We're in a different time period. Hey, we are all this. Hey, do you see them doing it? Do you see them talking about, hey, no, what we did was wrong. These people need to get reparation. This you need to pay. Do you see that happening? No. They defend what it did. Because, look, the truth here is they are not going to hate what their parents did. Because the truth is, what their parents did, it put them in a stage that they are in today. If their parent could not have done that, they was never going to be in the stage that they're in. So why would they want to hate what their parent did? Why? And then we African black people, somehow always so dumb and stupid, we will say, oh, what Malcolm X did, we got to forget it. Or Malcolm X did it during that time, but it can't just always be black, 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 black. You will see black people making that statement. It can't always be black, black, black. Malcolm X only for a black person. But at that time, who were suffering? Who were in captivity? And who stayed in captivity? Who on a plantation and who stay on a plantation? Who in the prison system? The justice system work against who? And who is still working against? And then you will come and say, oh, Malcolm X, at that time, he was this, also, he was devastated, he was this, he was this, he was that. You will hear black people saying those things. You don't see white people batching their forefather, what their forefather did. That is why it hate them when you removing statues of their forefather. Because they feel that you are erasing history that benefited them. History that put them in a position that they are in today. You are trying to erase it. It hate them. They don't like it. So if they come to apologize for slavery, that means they are telling their forefather what you fought for. It was against humanity. We don't want it. We don't want your inheritance. That means you will give it out. They protect it. But let's look at this one video and see what some of them want for African to do. But Nana Akufo-Addo, I can tell you, Nana Akufo-Addo will, in fact, Nana Akufo-Addo, what the video we're about to watch, Nana Akufo-Addo will never invite such a man in Africa. Tinubu will never do it. Ouattara, Alassane, none of these people, Warren Ruto will never do it. To say, you know what? We need to invite such a man to come to us so that we can sit down and discuss this. Watch this video and let me know. And this is this man's personal message to Ibrahim Traore and to the African nations that are fighting for freedom. Sorry, I got to come. So the individual talking, right? He's an activist. They call him Jackson Henkel. Okay, he's an activist in the U.S. here. He's against U.S. foreign policy. He's against the lies that are being told by Washington D.C. by Western propaganda media. He's against the lies. He's one of those people who hate oppression. Okay, he's one of those people who hate people, don't want to take accountability of what they did against humanity. He's one of them. So let's see what he said in this video here. Don't look at his personal life or who he is, right? But what he said in this video about Africa, I think that's what we should take. You said I'm muted? Can you hear me? Then I think they cannot play with it, but I'm hearing it playing. Audio is muted. Yeah, but the video, I'm hearing the video playing, but you can't hear the video. Can everyone hear the video, or it's just you? Okay, then I think they kind of, all right, then I think we will stop here, because then I think the video have been tampered with. The video have been tampered with then. I don't know.
Stop asking research questions to ChatGPT. Its answers are not reliable, and they are difficult.
You can hear me, but you can hear the video. Yeah. The video is playing and I'm hearing it, but you can't hear me. All right, so I'm gonna post the link. All right. Something else. Okay, so all right, so you see, you hear the app, like the app did play, but the video is playing, but you can't hear it. So then what happened here is the video have been tampered with, because there are things he said. Okay, so I'm gonna yeah, it's YouTube doing it. So I'm gonna post the link. Yeah, you can hear the video. That's sad. I'm gonna post the link. So you know, I mean, you already know who control YouTube. You saw how they brought down African stream. So in this video, let me just summarize it. Let me see if I can post the link. But oh man. I'm gonna post the link after the recording as well, so that I can yeah, so the video have been tampered with, so they don't want it to play. That's what happened. So basically what he said in this video, he want for Africa to actually get nuclear power or nuclear weapon. Okay, he's asking, in fact, he's congratulating Abraham Traore, the AES nation. He's telling them this is how you take freedom. He's telling them if you want freedom, this is how you take it. The way Abraham Traore or the AES nations are doing it. And in fact, he's giving suggestion to the African continent to work with Abraham Traore. The decision that Traore have made, the AES, he's asking other African nations to join them to do the same. And he's asking African nations, if you want to get full power or full independence or full control, what you should do here is get together and have a nuclear weapon. And he's telling Africa, the only way you will be here by the US or by Europe or by the rest of the world is to get power. And that power, you have to get a nuclear weapon. Because right now, this is how other nations are being listened to. So he's saying, like, for example, North Korea. You can't tamper off North Korea because of their nuclear arsenal. Iran because of their nuclear arsenal. China, Russia because of their nuclear arsenal. So that's what basically he's saying in this video. And he's saying, and he's also mad because of the United States is going down the drain because of the decision of the leaders, which he's angry about it, right? But again, I'm not going to talk about that. But what he's saying in this video is, He wants for Africa to get nuclear weapon. And that's the only way Africa will be respected. And that's the only way Africa will be heard. So he's saying, if Africa get a nuclear weapon, that would be great. So he's saying he don't know if it's going to happen right now because you have this unity among African leaders. You have puppet African leaders. You have bourgeoisie African leaders. But the message went to Ibrahim Traore and the AES. And African leaders who want the truth or who want Africa free to join the AES. Basically, that's what he said, or he's saying in this video here, that he actually wants to see Africa to rise. And that rise or that up movement or that empowerment, it comes through nuclear weapon. And that's a stand in this video here. He wants for Africa to rise and Africa should get nuclear weapon. That's the only way Africa will be listened to and Africa will be heard. That's what he said in this video. So that's why I wanted to play it for people to hear. And he also praised Ibrahim Traore, that Ibrahim Traore is doing the right thing and he supports Ibrahim Traore. But they didn't allow us to play. They don't want, because they censored it already. It's been censored, so I mean, I guess they listen to our show, so they know that we have a platform and they don't want it to be played on such a platform. But however, the link is posted after the live. I'm also going to post the link into the recording that other people can also get a chance to listen to. But I know some of you have listened to it already, but again, majority of our people, especially on the African continent and some other African nations, have not seen it because they don't have the opportunity to see something like this. But again, if they're following up, they will see it. So that's today's presentation that I have. So let's go to Ibrahim Traore and to the AES nations. Do not trust the West, especially those that have been against you, especially those that have supported sanction, those that have supported war against you. Do not trust them when they come back. Just because they have different leadership, that doesn't mean they are different. They are still in Congress, okay? Don't forget, it was my guest that said they should bring war, they should take their drum and come and slaughter your people. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Don't forget it. All right? They are dead. Okay? So whosoever that planted a plot, coup, war against you, they are still your enemies. Don't trust them. Just because you have different leadership, that doesn't mean different people. No. Even the African leaders, just because the US have a different leadership now, right? Those African leaders, those puppets, don't trust them. Don't trust Nana Akufo-Addo today, tomorrow, and forever. Never trust them. Never trust him. Never trust Tinubu. Never trust Ouattara. Never trust those people. They are still puppets. They are still bourgeoisie and they are still enemies. They fight that they wanted to take war. They fight that they use ECWA to bring war. They are your enemies. They fight that they put sanction on you as an African nation. They are your enemies. They fight that you don't have seaport. Everything that's supposed to pass through the sea that was coming through Ivory Coast, that was passing through Africa to come to you, through Nigeria to come to you, through Ghana to come to you. And they stop it. They are your enemies. Don't trust them today, tomorrow. If any ECWA nation that was against you, that want to come to join the AES because there's a change in government now, don't do it. They are still your enemies. We are fighting for Africa unification, but not in this way. Wait. Not even 2030. Wait until you can get to that stage, okay, where you can control those African nations when they come, where you can tell them what to do, where you can tell them, hey, we don't want military base if you are coming to join the AES. All foreign military base should be out. All foreign constitution should be out. All foreign back currency should be out. When you are in a position now to do it, then you can allow them to come in. But until then, don't bring them in. I said so. And I know the rest of the people that are watching, they second it. We are revolutionary. We don't compromise our freedom. We don't compromise our interest. So Abraham Traore to the AES, this is my warning to you people today that I have discussed. I hope you listen and you take it in. Don't trust any of these people. What are African leaders? What are diaspora that been against you? Don't trust them. What are the US that been against you? Don't trust her. England, France, don't trust them. Don't do it. African nation that been against you, don't trust them. We don't sugarcoat here. We're not gonna say, oh, that's African nation. No, we fighting for unity. No African nation. We are there when Gaddafi was fighting for unity and they killed Gaddafi. So we're not stupid again. We gotta make sure you align, okay, with the interest of the African agenda. We gotta see you. Then we see Nana Akufo-Addo acting like a Pan-Africanist, and he lied to us. We were like, yeah, we got Nana, we got Pan-African. Then we see William Ruto acting like a Pan-African, and we was like, yeah, we got Nana, we got William Ruto. By the end of the day, what happened? So we learn, we listen, we read, and we learn, and we go by it. We adapt to it, right? And we take it and we find solution. So we do not trust those leaders. And those nations, as long as they honor their direction, we don't trust them. We don't care whether they're African nation or not. That's not how we want to unite the African continent. You should be straightforward. Nkrumah said, forward. If you are not forward, don't allow them to join you. Let them sit down there. We don't need them in our movement. They will join on later. Like Marco Garvey said, not all Black in America are good for Africa. It is the same way. Not all Africans in Africa are good for our interest. That's today's presentation. We'll see you next week. Peace.